And we got a lot to get done today. We got a good show lined up, as always. Plenty of baseball talk. And we got the WNBA finals could be decided tonight. We got a big weekend in college football. And, of course, the NFL. So a lot to get to. Some great games last night. But, guys, I welcome you to the day that absolutely nobody has been looking forward to. The day when the Dodgers could clinch their berth in the World Series.
Yes.
Yeah, none of us were hoping for this day, but here it is, and they're getting underway in about 10 minutes in New York. And, Tony, after the way they beat down the Mets again last night, I mean, honestly, what the Dodgers are doing right now is making Yu Darvish look amazing.
Yeah.
Because Yu Darvish is currently the only pitcher that has faced the Dodgers in the playoffs this year that has been able to limit them to anything less than 7 runs, 8 runs. Last night, 10 runs. They've won games by 9-0. They've won 2 games 8-0.
Yeah.
They win 10-2. I mean, they're making it look easy right now.
I mean, when you really think about it, I mean, the Padres have played the Dodgers the best. And granted, they've only here's this. It also makes me think about how silly it is that people are questioning the bye, right? Because they have had to play one less series.
Yes, it hasn't affected them this year.
No, it hasn't. And so, really overall, like just think about the guys, right? I think Padres held Ohtani down pretty good. They held Betts down pretty well. Freeman, when he was in there, he was one of the guys who swung the bat well. But all in all, they pitched to those guys and held them down as well as a lot better than what the Mets have done so far. And so,
yeah, I didn't think the Mets had a great pitching staff.
They did
to begin with, and that's why I was, I think the Mets have been riding this wave of magic, and now that magic has to turn from winning games to winning a series. And this would indeed be magical if the Mets can somehow come back from everything that's happened to them. But
yeah,
they don't have any shutdown pitchers, and the Dodgers are just, abusing them, frankly.
Yeah, no, they have the same problem they had going into the season, which was they didn't have a lot of depth pitching-wise. I mean, remind me the closer's name again.
Diaz.
He's not even at
he has
his
not
best,
been locked down.
right?
He has not been locked down, but they're not even getting close to using
but that's
Diaz
what I'm saying,
right
like,
now, right?
Throughout the season,
I agree.
course of the season, that was always a kind of a soft spot. Senga didn't pitch a lot during the season, and he
only pitched one game during the season.
He hasn't been effective really.
No, they
all
haven't.
year
They didn't
long.
even. They had a choice to use him today,
Yeah.
and they're not using him. They're using David Peterson to try to stay alive, but. Our old guy Sean Manaea pitched okay against the Dodgers, good enough to win that ball game.
Yeah, he pitched well.
But Quintana had no chance. Severino, no chance. And what the Dodgers do is the same thing that the Padres do really well.
Yep.
They don't swing at any bad pitches, so you just have to keep throwing it. If you throw it just off the corner or just below the zone,
they're not gonna
they're
swing.
going to spit on it.
Right.
And the Padres were so effective doing that. And it was interesting. John Smoltz, who I implore you guys, if you really want to learn some of the intricacies of pitching and hitting and the batter, pitcher, face off each at bat, listen to what this guy is saying. He is absolutely brilliant. But he said, look, the Mets lucked out in a lot of ways because they drew the Phillies in the last round, and the Phillies are the opposite of the Dodgers. They swing at everything.
Right.
And that works for them, but not against the Mets, who were nibbling on the strike zone and not really giving them any pitches to hit.
And the Mets knew that. It was a familiar opponent to them. They
Yeah,
knew
right.
they knew what was giving them success and what wasn't giving them success. And during the course of the season, if you remember, I think the Phillies ended up winning one more game than the Mets did in that season series. So they had a good idea of how they wanted to
Let's
to
not
attack
throw them any strikes. Now, you did the same thing against the Dodgers. You wind up with 80 pitches by the third inning, and they have walked 30 Dodgers in this series. 30!
Can't do it.
In 4 games, the championship series, you've put 30 guys on base for free. I mean, that's a lot of credit to that goes to the Dodgers again because they don't swing at anything. But the Mets just have not adjusted. And now they are, they're on the doorstep here.
It's funny. I think about how this relates to the Padres. Jesse and I used to talk about this. The one thing that seemed to give the Padres offense trouble is strike throwers. If you were a team that nibbled, they were going to drag you out to the deep end. But occasionally you get a dude that's just throwing all strikes. He's not really messing around off outside the zone. And those were the games where it seemed like the Padres struggled. Whether it was just luck, guys hitting balls at people, or trying to
do too much,
or trying to use their game plan that
and always
sees a whole bunch of pitches.
Always hitting behind in the count is a lot different than hitting ahead in the count.
That is absolutely right.
I'm not a hitter, but I'm asking you. Listen, that just seems like
look at the percentages for the number folks out there. You look at what the average is. From 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 3-1, 2-1.
And then to 1-2 or 0-2. With 2 strikes, batters hit under 200.
Correct.
Except for Luis Ariz. And he doesn't count because he's the worst player in baseball.
He's just a myth, Chris. He's just a myth.
Yeah, anyway, the Dodgers are doing their thing. Freeman didn't even have to play last night. Obviously, Ohtani is so good. But a little reminder that Mookie Betts isn't bad.
Yeah.
And Tommy
Big
Edman.
reminder.
Let's salute Tommy Edman. They put him in the cleanup spot last night, Tony. And he cleaned up with 3 RBIs, a couple of doubles. He's had a great series for them.
The one thing that remember, during the season, the problem for the Dodgers was after those 3 guys.
Right.
Now they have an after those 3 guys, and they happen to all kind of start swinging the bat right during the playoffs. Edman, really, he got moved up that last game, but he had been at the bottom of the lineup.
He was an afterthought.
And he was the one that kept getting on base every time Ohtani needed to do something. You know what I'm saying? So they got it rolling right now. They look like, out of the 4 teams remaining, they look like the most difficult to beat right now.
And it is, just watching them do what they're doing, I can't help but, feel the pain of a week and a half ago when the Padres had them down 2-1, and most people felt the Padres were ready to move on.
Put it this way.
We were so close to knocking them out. Now they're sitting on the doorstep of the World Series.
From a personal standpoint, it's been far easier to dial into the Yankee Guardian series than it has been to watch all of the Met-Dodger innings. I can flip in, flip out, but it's way easier to sit and watch 5, 6, 7 innings of the Guardians Yankees for me than it is to watch the Dodgers and Mets right now.
It is hard to watch because we know that we could have been there. Mets are off to a better start today. In Game 5, Ohtani did not homer leading off the game. So that did happen yesterday to the Mets, and they never really recovered. The other game, the one you just spoke about.
How do you know that?
Oh, no, he's coming up now. I saw Betts on the screen. I thought he was coming to bat, and Ohtani had already batted.
I was like, man, Chris's website, baseballscores.com, is great.
Ohtani's already out as far as my website is concerned. No, you're right, Scrape. He's still coming up. I'm sorry.
I got a message about Ohtani because on the
20
Scrapey show...
34 since September 1st. That's ridiculous.
They said, because I said earlier in the week when Ohtani didn't have the stats that he does now, like, if I'm the Dodgers, I'm a little bit worried, or I'm a little bit angry at the production of Shohei Ohtani in the postseason. And then they messaged me last night, you think Ohtani sucks now? I'm like, I never said he sucked.
People have great memories if you say something like that.
Yes,
Tony, you brought
know.
up his batting average with runners in scoring position, 17 of 20. They put up on the screen last night. That's never happened before in the history of baseball.
There you go.
Just never happened before in baseball history.
Ever.
That anybody's ever gone 17 for 20 in a stretch with runners in scoring position like he has.
I'm positive that Peterson is starting this game specifically because he's left-handed.
Try to get Ohtani
is leading off the game.
Don't want to let him hit a home run. We'll see. But Betts had the big game last night. The Dodgers are loaded and trying to wrap it up. I do want to talk about the Yankees and the Guardians because this is an
amazing game.
I think this is the new age way to say it was a great game. You used to just say it was a great game. Now you have to say it's an instant classic, right?
It was.
It's an instant classic, though. You can almost watch that game again tonight and enjoy it just as much. Aaron Judge, that home run that he hit, Tony, the line drive. Was almost caught by the second baseman and then carried out of the ballpark.
Chris,
how do you hit it like that?
You actually feel bad for
Clase.
Because, I mean, his mistake was not throwing a ball.
Yeah.
That pitch is on. I mean,
It
on
was
the
a good
black.
pitch. It wasn't bad.
It was
yeah.
down, and the only place for him to really go as Ohtani singles the lead off this
Well,
game.
still, the Mets have a better start.
Yeah, touche. The only thing he could have done differently was just make sure it wasn't a strike.
Man.
It was just a great. You
Incredible.
see some great hitting in baseball, especially this time of year. That one's at the tippity top of the list.
I mean, a
right
line drive just over the second baseman's head out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the old saying, you hang your laundry on that. What a line drive shot
there.
that
I mean,
was.
the right
And then-
fielder thought he had like a legitimate chance to catch that
I
bad
think
boy.
he felt he did, and it ended up over the fence. Nobody could believe it.
and then John Carlos.
Stanton hits one, and they go ahead, and 2 outs, bottom of the ninth.
Matter of fact, can you pull up those calls? Those are two of the best calls we've
Which
had.
one? Like the
Brian
Yankee side?
Anderson's.
Oh, I
all
do
three
have
of
Brian
them
Anderson.
were
Hold on.
legit calls, especially the last one from the young kid from the Guardians that tied it.
Oh, Big Christmas.
Big, it took me about 5 listens to figure out what he actually
I
called
didn't get
in
it
there.
either.
Because his last name's Noel.
Yes, his last name's Noel. While you're looking that up, I want to
No,
ask you about
okay.
that last at bat.
Yeah.
In the or the game,
Against Fry?
the game tying home run, not the Fry,
Oh,
the
yes.
Noel one.
Yeah. Okay.
Again, I give kudos to Ron Darling. This is, to me, is great broadcasting. And what he said, if you remember, there was 1 out, and Bo Naylor was the runner at second base, and the batter hit a comebacker to Luke Weaver. Bo Naylor read it perfectly and sprinted to third. And,
He had a comebacker to who?
to the pitcher.
Okay.
And Bo Naylor, a lot of guys would just stay at second there, right? 2 outs, you can't take a chance. But he got a good read. He took third, and the pitcher had to throw out the runner at first. So now 2 outs, runner at third.
Oh, he didn't want to bounce
as
the slider.
opposed to 2 outs, runner at second. And Ron Darling said that could be a big play because Weaver loves to go to his slider
Yeah.
for the strikeout. He may not be willing to bounce it because it would tie the game. And anyway,
Yeah.
he didn't bounce it. He hung it, and the guy hits the home run.
That's
I mean, little things like that make a big difference in baseball.
That's high level
playoffs.
baseball, right?
That
there.
is high level.
That's
right?
high level because that's a guy who's been in that situation and can tell you
Yeah.
what's going through a pitcher's head. Now,
Exactly.
I
And,
think he would also tell you that the best of the best say, "I don't care. I'm going to trust." And this is where chemistry and trust and all those words that you hear that sometimes just go in one and out the
Yeah.
other.
I take it back. This was the home run to Fry because the winning run went
Right.
to
I thought
third.
it was a Fry,
It
right.
was the Fry home run. The winning run went to third. He did not want to bounce the slider. He left it up enough for Fry to hit the home run.
And so, I think what he would also tell you is that the good ones, the really good pitchers say, you know what? I trust my catcher. I trust that I can throw this ball in the dirt and he's going to block it.
Yeah.
And, when you have just a smidgen of doubt of, is he going to block it? Man, I don't want to put this in the dirt and have it get by him.
So what happened?
You leave it up just a little bit more.
Game over.
And a mistake, it leads into a walk-off homer. You
Yeah.
know, and I think the same could be said even on Noel's homer. Right, that's a hanging breaking ball as well. It's 1-2 count if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
that
2 strikes,
slider has
2
got to
outs.
be
The
down
Noel one?
in the dirt. The Noel one.
I have it right here.
I believe it was 1-2.
It's 1-0.
1-0. Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe he doesn't need it in that one. Did Fry have 2 strikes at that point?
I can check it.
I
Just
thought-
a
pretty
second.
sure Fry did.
I thought one of them had 2
Pretty sure
strikes.
Fry
Okay, so
had
it was
2
Fry.
strikes.
Do you guys
So-
want to hear Brian Anderson?
Yes, please.
and
All right,
crew?
let's hear. Play him in order.
This
right?
is big. This is big Christmas.
Wait, no.
Wait,
Play
you're
him in
not
order.
playing
You gotta
him in
play him in
order.
order.
Can we do Judge
Can we do
first?
Judge?
Oh yeah.
Judge
Oh,
Stanton.
you want me to get? Oh, I thought you were
That's
just
what I
talking
was
about
saying.
the Guardians.
Yeah, no.
ones.
That's what I was saying. We can
My
get to it
goodness.
later.
Okay.
We can do
You
it
guys
on
are
the
actually making me work today. What is this all about?
Well, you took the last 3 days off.
Oh, here goes
just
Chris.
keep walking into
Here
these,
goes
man.
Chris.
You just keep walking into them. I don't understand.
You're my guy, Scrabe. I love it.
We'll get to him on the other side. Give Scrape some chance to get them together. But those are the things that are so much more magnified.
And that's what I love
this
about
time of year.
postseason
100%.
baseball because all that matters. And I really like good announcing. And when Ron Darling says, watch out, he may hang a curveball, and then the guy hangs it and he hits the game-winning home run, that's getting the job done.
Yeah.
So good job on Ron Darling. Okay, the Dodgers got a base hit by Ohtani. Betts hit a line drive that they called a double. Sorry, but Starling Marte should have caught it, trying to make a sliding catch in right field. He didn't catch it. Second and third, nobody out, and David Peterson gets out of it. No run score. He retired Hernandez, Freeman, struck out Edman. So first advantage in this game goes to the Mets as they survive the top of the first. We are underway, Gwynn and Chris. Lots of good baseball stuff for you today. Also, we haven't forgot about our Aztecs. Mark Zeigler, San Diego Union Tribune. Cody Decker, baseball podcaster and former Padre. He will talk baseball with us later on. It's Friday, so we got Daily Gambit. We got Chris First the Fans, Big Five, and a countdown for you today. So sit back, enjoy this one on 97.3 The Fan.
2:22 on the clock. Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Sello. Matt Scravy, baseball coverage on 97.3 The Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Head to T-Mobile.com and get a great deal on an iPhone 16 Pro. We were talking about Brian Anderson, BA, TBS's voice. He had 4 really good calls in crunch time. I think we have 4. We're going to play them in order and just talk about them on the other side.
All right, so it's Aaron Judge first
Aaron
because
Judge
I told
is
you in the
first.
break
Judge
you guys
had to
confused
tie
me.
it up.
Aaron Judge first.
Yes, this call I was watching, or this play, it made me depressed.
And it speaks to what Chris was talking about when we first brought the subject up about, hanging your clothes on a line.
Yeah.
Listen to Brian's voice. You could tell he does a little surprised.
1-2, here he comes. Judge, line drive, right field, hit well, and it is up and out! Judge has homered! The game is tied at 3! Incredible!
So, the one thing I think about doing these games all the time, especially these type of games, is how good the Dave Marcus of
Television
TV
is?
or radio has to be. Because if he doesn't turn those field mics down, there's going to be all kinds of expletives being slung around. Because you can hear it. You can kind of faintly hear some of them, but you can tell the mic has been turned down as they get the camera pans towards the dugout. Yeah, for sure.
I love it when they come to the plate and the mic picks up. That's right, bleep, 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 bleep. It's like the players right in front of the microphone.
It's one of my favorite
They
parts.
celebrate the way they should.
100%.
The other thing, Dave Marcus related, and he could probably tell you too, but when Brian Anderson modulates to incredible, you got to watch that too because it's going to come out really distorted if you're not
can't have it overmodulated
paying
now.
attention. And
Such a
it just goes to show you,
broadcasting
sound has
term.
improved since the days of Strasburg. Things are much better.
So
now.
that was the homer.
That tied it up.
That tied it. Here's Giancarlo's homer that gave them the lead.
A home run to Karen Carpenter. That ball's hit well, deep center field. Way back there, Giancarlo Stanton, a home run! Judge and Stanton go back to back, and the New York Yankees have grabbed the lead.
Yeah, that was stunning.
It was.
Certainly stunning. Like just what happened in New York right now, Tony.
Yeah. Pete Alonso, the pig
Polar
pen.
bear, the
pig
first
pen.
baseman pig pen.
Went dead central, and it looked like he hit a pop-up. And then all of a
114
sudden,
off the bat.
Pages is not even running after the ball. It was a bomb. 3-0. Mets take a lead here in the first. And looking at the Mets fans, they're thinking about how in the world are we going to lose this game right now?
They're a little worried still, you
They're
think?
already worried.
Oh, don't go there, Mets fans.
I'm just saying that every Mets fan I know thinks like that. All right, here is the homer in the 9th. 2 outs, 1-0 pitch. Here's Brian Anderson.
Oh my goodness! Big Christmas has tied it! The ultimate present under the tree!
And Darling and Jeff Rancourt did a great job on the first 2 calls of not jumping in, but they couldn't help it on
I
that
think
one.
that was Frank Core.
This is
That
2
was
outs.
2 outs. You're down. You're going to go down 3-0 in the series. Luke Weaver's hardly given up a hit, all year.
Yeah.
By the way, that was not a bad pitch that Pete Alonso just
Flaherty,
hit.
put it
almost
down,
hit
hit
the
it
ground.
off his ankles.
Yeah.
Great
Golfed
job
it.
by Alonso.
Here's that one more time, the beginning, because I think it's hilarious.
He said before VA did.
Yeah.
That had to be Frank Core. For sure.
He
Couldn't help
I like
it, though.
that.
Couldn't help it.
I like
I mean,
that
I was kind of slumbering on my couch at that moment, and you're just laying there, and you're like, Yankees win, and then so everybody I think went,
Yeah, no
You
doubt.
had to, get attentive when that hit when he hit that ball.
Do you have the last one?
I do.
Now let's play the walk-off piece.
Winning run in game 3. Fry, deep drive, left field. Fry's watching. It is a walk-off home run. David Fry lights up the Cleveland night.
Lights
not
up
bad.
the Cleveland night.
That's pretty good stuff, man. When the hairs are standing, get up there. Hairs are standing up.
I could tell you.
Good job,
I
BA.
would say that was in a 2.5 inning span.
Yeah, right. It was 3-1. It was a very boring game until all of that happened.
That for him to still have a good call at the end of it, the fourth homer he saw.
He was ready.
That's why he's BA.
Good job, BA. We got to get him on. I know I was talking about it back
last night
with you guys, and he'll be done probably when the series is over, and he'll go to NBA, where he's also amazing.
Yep.
But the reason you know him, Tony, is because he's the voice of the Brewers.
Yes, sir.
So you knew him way back when, before he was this, big of a deal. But he deserves every bit that he gets because he's amazingly good.
I think I had him his first year with the Brewers.
Yeah, that's cool.
Super nice guy. I know when I got into this business, he offered his representation and things of that nature. So he's a stand-up dude.
Yeah, he made some great calls and a great game. I mean, this is, I tell you, it's been a pretty good sports postseason, wouldn't you say?
This has been a great.
I mean, we've had grand slams, walk-offs, big bombs, late changes in games.
A team that didn't score for 24 runs.
Yeah, well,
innings.
I tried to forget that one. But
Scrappy, why do you keep bringing us back there, man?
Yeah, we're trying to get past it if we ever can.
We were just talking about the goodness of playoff baseball, not the terribleness of
I really want to know, like, from a pitcher, like who gave up the walk-off home run?
Clay Holmes.
Clay Holmes. I want to know, like, not the walk-off, I guess, the game-tying home run.
Luke Weaver.
How do you go back and focus on getting the next out? Because you just let your team down.
Literally going into that day, we had just talked about Luke Weaver being almost unhittable.
Yeah.
Unhittable.
So you just have to revert back just 24 hours before that to where you felt unhittable and go from there.
I feel like I would fall off the mound the next but just like so much pressure.
Well, here's the thing. What would you think would be tougher? Giving up a game-tying home run like that or getting beat, cleanly on a touchdown if you're a cornerback? The reason I think the cornerback is tougher is because it might just happen again, despite all of your preparation. In baseball, I think you can tip your cap to the hitter sometimes and say, hey, I made my pitch, he hit it, or I didn't make my pitch.
Right.
I got to just pitch better.
Class A can tip his hat to Aaron Judge.
For sure.
But he can be pissed at himself for making a bad pitch to Stanton.
So I think that's how you deal with it. I wouldn't know, Scrape. Never gave up a home run. So.
Oh, yeah?
No.
What do you mean? You were just warning track power off
I hit. Well, it was hard to hit a home run off me because I threw the ball so slowly.
You weren't generating enough.
Everybody had to generate all their own power. But
Class A stare after the inning.
He could just see his heart was broken.
It was just like a million-mile stare.
It's like, did that just happen?
I would love to just get the things that were going on in his head.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get to break. I'm going to switch gears, talk some college basketball. Mark Zeigler will join us next. We'll get into some of this Mountain West Pac-12. Obviously, the Mountain West just had their preseason conference media day. We'll get into it all on the other side. More Gwynn and Chris.
Gwynn and Chris.
Chris. 2:36 is the time. The Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed on 97.3 The Fan. While you're listening, you can see what you missed and click to listen on demand. If you missed a guest, a feature, or something crazy that happened from earlier, we've got you covered. Download the free Odyssey app, search 97.3 The Fan, and tap Earlier Today. That'll get you started. We are got you started here with Gwynn and Chris. Crisello, Tony Gwynn Jr., and Matt Scraby. Pete Alonso, the polar bear plunge, 3-run homer in the bottom of the first, and it is still 3-0 Mets. Dodgers batting in the top of the second inning. Back to all of the baseball talk in just a moment, but if we have a list of our all-time favorite guests on this show, we put together that list. This guy would be on it. He'd be at the bottom of the list because it would. See what I did there? See what I did there? From the Union Tribune, our guy Mark Zeigler joins us. Hi, Mark. Always good to talk to you. You always had like an extra couple minutes to get to class, right? By the time they read off your name.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I don't mind being on the bottom of the list.
That's right. You were last to
no offense here.
Very good, Mark. You're way up at the top. All right, Aztec basketball. We always get excited, and I don't even care that they picked them fourth. When you lose pretty much everybody from the team, I guess that makes sense. But do you think this is fourth place, or do you think this is? I was surprised because I read your article today, and I didn't remember they actually finished fifth last year before making the run in the tournament. So I guess it's a deep league again.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I think every league across the nation right now is wide open, and that's just because everyone has new pieces. And even teams that, put together great transfer classes, they still have to play together. And we saw a lot of examples last year. I mean, a team like Washington had $2.5 million transfer kitty, and they had the leading assist leader from both the Big Ten and the Big East on their roster. They had a pro, two guys from Kentucky, but one of them, for sure pro. They had guys from the Mountain West. They had all kinds of guys on their bench making it, sizable NIL, and they couldn't do anything, and the coach got fired. And so, we saw it everywhere, and so it's really hard to say, well, this team's going to be better than this team, because in the past you just knew who was coming back, and there weren't that many players coming in. And now you have rosters, maybe not to say any state's extreme, but that have 4 and 5 key pieces that are coming in, and no one knows how they're going to mold and meld, and so we're just going to have to wait and see what happens.
Feels like that's kind of the new age of really college sports. Wait and see. You got so many transfers rolling in every year, and the turnover is so much higher than it used to be. It kind of makes some sense, Mark. You got a chance to see this Aztec squad inter squad a couple times. What have you seen? What have you been impressed with watching these guys get after each other?
Well, I've been to a bunch of practices and like you said, both inter-squad scrimmages. And there are days I'm out there going, wow, this is going to be a rough season. And there's days I'm looking at it going, wow, they've got some real pieces here. They get together, they get healthy, and they start playing. They're really big. They're long. They got a lot of offensive options and some exciting athletes. And you start thinking, the league maybe isn't as good as it was last year. They could do some stuff. And so I just keep going back and forth. I don't know what to think. I think the coaches are in the same boat. I mean, I get the sense that there's some days they think, oh, we'll be okay, and there's some days they're just panicked. And so I think the big thing with this team is it's young. They're going to have, I think, 5 freshmen or sophomores in the rotation, and only one of those, and that's Miles Heide, got regular minutes last year. The rest of them are new to college basketball or new to major minutes, like a guy like B.J. Davis, who was on the team but didn't really play very much. And so that's something that's new. That the way they've had success in the past few years is being older than everybody else, having these 5th and 6th year seniors, guys like Jay Liddy and Adam Seiko and AG. I mean, you look at the roster, you look at the rotation from the national championship game, and there was 9 guys in a rotation, and they were junior, seniors, 5th-year seniors, and 6th-year senior. And that's, that's just not the reality anymore. And so I think that's the biggest hurdle to overcome.
Mark Zeigler's with us. All that said, Mark, I think that Brian Dutcher, with what he's accomplished, gives all of us, a very confident feeling coming into any season that he is going to figure it out. He's going to get the best out of this group, and they're going to, improve like, Brian Dutcher and Steve Fisher teams before that always improve throughout the season. What do you think his secret sauce is to being able to do that consistently?
That's pretty simple, and it's that they don't panic. Steve Fisher, they used to talk about, he was at his best, and Dutch used to talk to me about that when he was an assistant. He would, they'd lose a game or two, and he'd say, watch how he acts. He's so good in these situations. He doesn't panic. He doesn't let one loss become two losses become three, because you don't dwell on it. You move on. It's always next play. And there's just sort of a patience and an even keel. And that allows teams to progress on the floor and get better. They're never looking in the rearview mirror. They're not afraid to make mistakes. And they just sort of quietly learn from them. In the game, they don't harp on mistakes. They might look at them in film the next day, but they move on. And I think players appreciate that. Players don't want to be on a nice edge, wondering if their coach is going to scream at them all the time. And so I think that kind of allows them to just get better day by day, minute by minute, practice by practice. And so that's good to have, and he'll have that patience with this group. But it's going to be interesting to see what the fans do. And they just raised ticket prices 20%, and they've been to a Sweet 16 and a national championship game the last 2 years. What happens if they open the season and they're 2-4, which they very well could be. If they don't beat a ranked team, they're probably going to be 2-4. And in February, they probably could handle those games. I'm not sure they can handle them now. And so how will the rest of us deal with that? That will be the interesting thing for me to see. I know how Dutch will deal with it.
That is certainly something to be thinking about. The folks are a little less patient than they used to be, especially with all the success we've seen. Mark Zeigler joins us here, San Diego Union Tribune. All right, Mark, I have a bunch of questions. I hope you can kind of iron this out for us in terms of the lawsuit with the NCAA, how it affects San Diego State and these scholarships, and how if it even affects San Diego State and all. And then the NIL, or not the NIL, the National Letter of Intent rule that just changed. Could you kind of explain that in layman's terms for us?
Well, the National Letter of Intent is, I think they're just transitioning to the day, which is coming, whether it's next year or the year after. It should be one of those two, when they're actually the power conferences, not the Mountain West of the world, but the power conferences, which are only 4 of them now, are paying athletes. And when they're actually from the university cutting a check to an athlete, they have to have a different kind of letter of intent. The letter of intent now just says scholarship, has nothing about payment. So I think they got rid of it now because they're kind of in that transition period, and they'll replace it with something else, some more legalese. They basically send it back to the lawyers and say, write something else up that will be more binding and more of a contract. So that's what that's about. The House settlement, it doesn't directly affect a school like San Diego State, because they're not going to have these roster limits. They're not going to have these unlimited scholarships, at least to start with. But it does affect them indirectly, because these power conference schools are going to be able to, A, pay athletes in addition probably to what they're getting in NIL, and B, they'll be able to have in many sports more scholarships if they want. And we'll see how they decide to approach that. I think in some sports, a big school may say, we're not really a national contender in softball, for example, so we're not going to have very many scholarships in that opportunities, and we'll just field the team and we'll be competitive, and that'll be the end of it. But let's say you're really good at men's soccer. Well, all of a sudden you can go from 9.9 scholarships up to 24 or 20 or whatever the limit's going to be. You could get really good, and those 4 schools that are mid-majors are just going to get run over. And so there's going to be a little bit of that going on. So indirectly, I think it does affect a school like San Diego State, because it'll be harder to compete with those top power conference schools, because they're going to have so many advantages financially or with the number of scholarships.
Mark, Aztecs go to the Pac-12 July 1st, 2026. So we're still a year and a half away. Give me all of the positives maybe not the obvious positives, but some other positives maybe we haven't thought of, and concerns with this conference. I know Gonzaga's in for basketball. I mean, are they going to get to 8 teams? Is that going to all work out? Is it all going to? Are they going to land safely in the Pac-12 once it's time to go there?
Well, I think the big positive is that you just have a stronger overall league as you cut out the bottom of the Mountain West essentially, and you added 2 schools that are fairly well resourced in Oregon State and Washington State. Now we'll see how they are going forward. I mean, you've already seen their football programs take a big step back this year just because athletes realized they're not playing in the Power Conference League. They don't feel they're going to get the same exposure. And maybe they don't have the same NIL resources as some of those other schools do. But they still have great facilities. They have big budgets. They have big coaching staffs, et cetera. So, they're joining 2 schools that have those kind of resources. So it's a step up. I mean, it's just an upgrade overall. The concern, obviously, is they've got to get another school, which I think they will. I mean, they've got plenty of time. I think they'll make another run at some AAC schools, in particular Memphis, and they'll build it from there. It's a better basketball league. It's a really, really good basketball league. You just add Gonzaga, and it's a great basketball league. But the fact that, Boise State's been good, Washington State and Oregon State have had ups and downs, but they have been very good in basketball at times. Utah State's been very good at basketball. Colorado State's been solid. And so it's a great basketball league. And so for San Diego State, which really is a basketball school, if we want to admit that, if we're being honest, it's a great fit. And so that part is good. I think the biggest concern is, the financial piece is unknown. And you got to remember, San Diego State's got to pay this exit fee, which would probably be about $18 million. And that, if I understand it correctly, is going to come out of, it's going to be, a lot of it's going to be a loan from the Pac-12, from their big war chest coming back to San Diego State, and then they'll just take it out of future revenues. So those first few years they're in the Pac-12, I don't think they'll get the full share, the full amount, the greater dollar from TV or media rights and all the other stuff that they normally would, because they're still going to be paying off that exit fee. So that's going to limit some of the things they're able to do and some of the resources they're going to have for a few years. And so that's a concern because, look, you're San Diego State, you're competing in football against Oregon State and Washington State, which have great practice facilities and recruiting centers and academic centers and all those things for football. And, we've all seen San Diego State's football practice facility. And so it's hard to invest when you're kind of behind the 8 ball paying off those exit fees.
No doubt about it. Mark Zeigler joins us here, San Diego Union Tribune. And Mark, we had assistant coach Ryan Babratelli on a couple of days ago, and he mentioned some of the new roles that guys are being asked. And one of the names he kept brought up was Reese Waters, who he said was going to be asked to do a little bit something different than he was last year. Do you have any idea what is going to be asked of him? Because looking at the roster, he seems to be the one that could be the go-to guy for the Aztecs offensively this year.
Yeah, I got that sense too. In fact, he was at Media Day yesterday in Las Vegas, and I asked a question. I said, last year you were obviously very much of a Jaden Ledee-centric team. And even before that, they were kind of a Matt Bradley team where they got the ball to him, late shot clock, got out of the way, guy could create his own shot. And that's kind of how Jaden was. And this year it's much more democratic. It's much more equal opportunity. They're playing multiple sides of the floor. I said, okay, I get that. But what happens late shot clock, late in the game, someone's got to take a shot. And Reese just stepped up and said, I'd like to have the ball in my hands. And so I think that's the big difference is you all run your plays. Everyone runs their plays, but everyone scouts them and knows that they're coming. If you defend them right, they don't work.
Right.
And then it's what do you do on the back half of the play? And what do you do when the shot clock's under 8 seconds? Who gets the ball and who can create a shot? And Reese can do that. He has such a quick release. He's a big body, long arms, athletic, high release on his jumper, great mid-range player. And I think he'll be getting the ball in those situations a lot of times. And I think that's going to be something that's, last year he never had it in those situations because it was going to Jaden. So I think that's something they're looking to from him, and we'll see how that goes. He's a little banged up right now, so he's got to get healthy first. But he certainly has the skill. We saw that in the Gonzaga game last year when they won at Gonzaga. He was the best player on the floor.
We got 2 minutes left, Mark, and I have to ask about Magoon Gwath because I think he seems to be the most intriguing player on the roster. There are those out there that I've seen tweet that are big basketball, people, and they say this guy's going to be a household name in the Mountain West. He already seems like a fan favorite just because he's 7 feet and shoots threes. Coach didn't want to say too much about him the other day because he wants to make sure we talk about all the players. But is this guy, anything close to what we hope maybe he could be?
He's certainly shown flashes of it. But, people need to remember this is a redshirt freshman who didn't play last year and didn't even practice half the year because he was coming off ankle surgery, pretty major ankle surgery. And the year before that, he was a little bit banged up in high school. And before that, he played at a smaller school in the Dallas area. And so he really hasn't played a lot of high-level basketball before. And what that means is, as talented as he is, as much upside as he is, he's going to be up and down this season. And he has been in practices and in the scrimmages. He's had these flashes where he just took over games. He got a rebound and he led the break, and somebody, he passed ahead to somebody who missed a shot, and he flew in and got the tip dunk. And then he got a steal at midcourt and came back and hit a three. And, but then he disappeared for 5 or 10 minutes. And so I think people have to understand that he's going to be really good, but he's not going to be consistent. That's what young players usually are. And so they're going to have some patience with him. I think this is going to be an up and down year. If they're lucky enough to keep him next year, I think he'll be a monster in college basketball next year. But this year we'll see some flashes. And again, it goes back to the expectation question we were talking about earlier. If people have too high expectations for him, they're going to be disappointed. If they just come into it and say, look, this guy hasn't played very much, he's very raw, but everything he does is a positive, they'll be much more satisfied, I think, in the end.
Mark, thanks so much. Just don't forget that we are 7 in UConn in the NCAA tournament the last 2 years.
I love that line.
Yeah.
my other favorite was Dutcher, and I asked him yesterday about being picked 4th. He goes, well, we finished 5th last year, and so 4th's one spot higher.
That's
Let's
right.
Look at the positive.
He's the glass half full for sure. Mark, always fun catching up to you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you,
Thanks
Mark.
again, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for letting T ask some questions today, too. Appreciate that.
Why? Do I do that? We go back and forth, don't we?
We do.
All right.
Yeah, there was one day that T couldn't get any questions, and I felt bad for him.
Yeah, I did too. I was like, man,
I just
Chris,
get my man's back.
I
Man, Chris,
appreciate
stop
you, Mark.
talking,
Thank you,
bro.
brother.
You know how egotistical I am, guys. So it's certainly understandable that
Egomaniac you
yes,
are.
that happened. All right, Mark Zeigler, very good there. Crisello, it's on my show. And these other two guys, we'll let them in on it a little bit when we come back. 3-1 now, Mets over the Dodgers. More to come.
Into the 3 o'clock hour, we roll. Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, Matthew Scraby. Day the Gambit headed your way. 3-1 ball game. Mets still ahead. Mets had a chance to get another one. Blew it. And we'll see if that comes back to haunt them at some point. Playing against the Dodgers. Go ahead, Scraby.
I was just reminded on the chat from Michelle. Thank you for asking this question. Scraby, did you mess with Chris's chips or put them back?
So I didn't catch it, but I caught wind of it.
Yes.
I did too, but I didn't see it
You
either.
apparently did a video about Chris's crackers. This is how much the crackers are on your mind.
Yes,
They're-
he
oh.
is.
You wasted a video.
He
on it.
goes home.
Crackers are
he
always on my
No, he goes
mind.
home thinking about my crackers. I mean, it's
not
crazy.
Do you
I must
really
say.
want some? I think that's
no.
what it feels like.
Oh, I've tried one before.
You didn't
They're
like
not
them?
worth it. They're not worth it.
That's not
Tony.
true. Tony likes them.
I do.
A lot of people like them.
Yeah.
So just because you don't. But I do want to hear what you did with the cracker
Okay,
video.
so you got to go to your screen because I'm going to play this on YouTube.
Okay,
and...
hang on. Wait, all right.
Oh.
I'm there.
Okay, you're there. Let me
Up there.
grab it.
I was one click away. That's not bad.
That's not bad. You're right. All right, here it is, everybody. What I did with Chris's crackers.
Okay.
All right, so hold on. I didn't put it on the screen. Sorry to people who are actually in their car right now. You can go see this later
Yeah.
if you would like to.
Yeah.
But you can hear.
All right,
Hopefully.
so I was just about to leave, and I went into the refrigerator to get something, and guess what is in here? Chris's crackers. His famous
got a close-up
crackers.
of them.
What should I do with them? What should I do with them? All right, so I'm very strange. But the number one question in my inbox about this video is why does Chris keep his crackers in the refrigerator?
I don't normally. At home, I keep them not in the refrigerator because I don't think crackers are refrigerator food. However, as far as I can tell, there's no real safe place to keep any food here that's not the refrigerator.
Touche.
So I threw it in the refrigerator, and I felt nobody would take it in there.
Except
That's
for
why.
me. And then I walk up and I see the
Yeah.
crackers. And McKee
Guess what he found? He finally did with them. Here they are. He didn't do anything.
And
with them.
McKee says, are they Trader Joe's rice crackers?
Yes, they are.
If so, those are super good.
Thank you.
And
How
McKee,
about that?
would you
Thank
also like to
you.
comment on the stink of the crackers?
All
no
right.
stink.
It makes
No
your
stink.
I
it
don't know
makes
why
the
you're-
studio smell
Didn't
like
you used
gross.
to have you used to bring that. What is that you used to bring?
No,
in?
that was Thomas and it was bok choy.
Bok choy. Was Thomas.
Bok choy used to come in
No,
here.
Thomas
with
used
bok
to-
choy
yeah.
stinking up the joint.
He would be like, "Oh, hey guys, I just heated up my dinner," and I'm like, "What in the world? This is like a 5-course Chinese dinner you're having right now in studio." Jeez.
All right. we
Anyway, I didn't do anything too.
No, you
Chris's
didn't. But that was a cute little video.
Thanks.
Cute, very cute. Did you guys see that Bally Sports is going to have a name change?
Oh gosh, what now?
What-
FanDuel TV
Oh, really?
will take over as Bally Sports.
Oh, good. I want the Padre games to be on that channel.
Well, they're not going
They're
to.
not
be.
going to.
No, I know because Bally didn't they go bankrupt? I mean, didn't they? Like,
They're
disappear?
in the middle of bankruptcy
Okay.
proceedings now.
But
They
FanDuel's come in to save the day.
They've come in to take the name right now. They
Yeah.
didn't mention anything about taking on any teams or any of that. No terms were disclosed in the deal, but this is a much deeper conversation for later. But where is baseball headed with regional sports? I had heard a dirty rumor, and this is just a rumor, that at its end point, it's headed backwards, meaning you'll get select national games.
So there could be a day where we don't get to see every Padre game the way we do now.
That is the dirty rumor I heard.
We can
One
have
day.
ESPN 19 showing everything, but we can't have a baseball game?
There's no, as we can see in this Bally Sports issue, there's no cashola.
There's no market for it, apparently.
There's no market
But there
for it.
is a market
Now-
for tiddlywinks on ESPN 19.
There's
That's what
also,
I was
there's
asking.
also a
what I
market
will
for
say-
Cornholing
there is. It's
What
on
I-
TV.
What I will say is,
all the time, by the way.
it's hard to foresee a scenario in which there's not an offer for regional sports. We just don't know how it's going to look. But just based off of what we see in front of us, this Bally Sport, they're dropping more teams this next season.
Yeah.
Even more.
I think they've dropped everybody now. I don't think anyone's left.
Yeah, I think the last 6 teams have all
I think
been
everybody's
dropped.
been dropped.
And
And,
so-
now it's if you're not MLB, you don't have anything right now.
Right.
Luckily, the Padres at least still have that.
Right. And so I don't know that can in your mind, can you think of I don't think there's going to be a station or a company that's offering.
Okay, so Major League Baseball is producing the Padres games right now.
They're doing the Padres games right now.
How much do you think it would cost me, Tony? I mean, I've always wanted to call a couple of games with you. I feel if I owned the rights, I could at least convince Orsillo to let me do a couple of games with you.
Yeah, if you own the rights, you can do what you want to do.
Yeah, well, I would never. And look, I would never fire or get rid of Orsillo. He's too good.
Well,
But,
Tony also does radio, so we'll
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
talk
we
about
bring
Jesse.
him
Wrong
over.
guy.
We
Get a
bring
night
him
where
over.
Mark's not. No, Tony does a lot of TV games during the season.
That's true.
You
That's
know,
true.
So
Oh, wait, I want to go back. You're telling me that I will not be able, possibly, maybe, long way off, I may not be able to watch the Padres on a daily basis.
Based,
that's what I said about 10 minutes ago.
I mean, based on Bally going bankrupt and no one stepping up to really, because after Bally, like who would be that company that could
Well, maybe
distribute all of
FanDuel
it?
can do it. I mean,
Maybe.
Look, all of the money in the world goes only to these gambling sites, apparently.
Now, that being said, FanDuel could be it, but again, Bally's claiming bankruptcy. What is going to be the offer, right? Because Bally paid a boatload of money to have these teams. They started to figure out that it ain't quite worth what
it
they
wasn't
paid
worth
for.
their investment.
So what happens then? Is Major League Baseball teams going to then turn around and say, all right, we'll offer our product cheaper now?
Well, that's what I was going to say is each team may have to do their own broadcast now. I don't obviously know how expensive a TV broadcast
I
is.
think
I'm
it's
sure
pretty
it's very
expensive.
expensive.
Yeah.
Because it's on a daily basis. You're paying.
Well,
you're paying John. You're paying Mud. You're paying the producer.
You got to pay those two guys. That puts you over the limit right there.
Yes.
The salaries. That
The
these
budget's
broadcasters-
gone once you pay
Jesse
Don.
and Tony already wipe out the entire budget here at 97.3 The
It's
Fan.
true. It's
so.
true. That's why I worked. I ate peanuts last week.
Every time
because
you and I ask for
they
any
pay
money,
me
they
again.
say, "Sorry, there's none left."
Listen to you guys.
None left.
I really hope that doesn't happen because that
do
would
too,
be a
'cause I
major
can't
step
imagine,
back.
I can't imagine it now. Like if we were going back to the early '90s, I'd be like, all right, it makes. I was already used to it at that point,
Yeah.
but now I'm spoiled. I get to watch every Padre game that's available,
Yeah.
which is all of them.
You know what I like about my sports is when they take away my sports.
It's always a
They
good
get
deal.
me watching every night and then they take it away.
I mean, listen, it
No, we
worked.
can't have that, man. I mean, that is going to be.
Chris
people are
might
gonna-
die.
He will not die, and he doesn't watch. Well, I don't watch every single minute of every Padre game. What I'm trying to get to, though, is that I think there'd be a bit of a fan revolt on this because every fan is used to having that ability.
Yeah.
And we've had it for like 30 years. It's not like we just had it for a couple of
no,
years.
We've had it for about almost exactly 30 years.
Right.
Around
So
that
we've
time.
seen every game for 30 years. You're going to try to tell people, we're going to give you a couple games a week. That's going to be a hard.
It'll be
hard
interesting
to sell.
It'll be very interesting to see how this all shakes out.
That just means that it's good for Padres radio. Only place in town you're going to be able to get the game.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. All right, let's get to some Daily Gambit.
Yes.
Do you like money?
I think about money a lot.
Do you like money without doing anything?
Winning.
Do you want to make money while watching sports?
I think Washington is immortal luck.
Washington! Woohoo! If you answered yes, this is your segment. Just don't blame us when you lose.
Nothing is ever your fault.
It's your game. Take it.
Gwynn and Chris go through the top bets of the day in The Daily Gambit on 97.3 The Fan.
Daily Gambit is our daily sports betting segment here on Gwynn and Chris. Please, everybody, gamble responsibly. First bet we made last night was the Denver Broncos minus 2.5 over the Saints on the spread. You guys chose the Saints. I chose the Broncos. I win. Denver 33-10 looked pretty good last
Sean
night.
Payton had a happy return to New Orleans.
He sure
as
did.
it turned out. And I didn't understand the Saints' game plan.
I
They
didn't either.
Didn't give the ball to Kamara more than 7 times. Are you kidding me? This is Alvin Kamara. He's the only offense you have.
Apparently, Rattler and Kamara didn't also understand it at one point in the
Is
game.
that
as They
right? I
both
didn't
turned to
see
the
that.
camera and said, "What are we doing?"
Yeah,
No, they did.
Yeah.
I mean,
Alvin Kamara, was
Kamara
very
is one of the
upset.
great weapons in the game, and
I believe that
nothing.
was his lowest amount of scrimmage yards in any game in his
Well,
career.
he only had 7 touch. He got 6 passes, but every
Yeah.
one of those went for like 1 yard.
Yeah, which if
So-
you're in a PPR league, I believe you get like 8 points for that.
You
So
can get
that's
some
a decent
points
day.
there,
You
but
got
yeah.
something.
Yeah, it's not the
but
negative 0.1 I got with ETN last week.
I'm not talking fantasy sports right now. I'm talking real sports,
Okay.
and the Saints were stupid.
Yes, they were. I agree. Who had more passing yards last night? Bo Nix or Spencer Rattler?
They both were pretty subpar.
Both were pretty subpar throwing the ball. We all chose Rattler, and we were correct by 8 yards. He had 172. Bo Nix had 164.
By the way, what do you do if you are what's the guy's name for Denver, the receiver? The
Cortland
best
Sutton?
receiver, Cortland
I'm
Sutton.
about to talk about that.
Okay, all right.
Cortland Sutton over under 46.5 yards receiving in the game. Chris went under, and Tony and I went over. Cortland Sutton did not even get a target in the game last night.
What is that? Like he's your best receiver. You don't call one play for him the whole game,
Shout out
and they're
Sean
going to tell
Payton.
Sean Payton he's brilliant.
No, they were looking, but he just never threw the ball to him. Like
They were
That's
looking.
crazy.
They were
What do you
looking
mean
in his
they were
direction.
looking?
Just what does that do? I'm looking at you, but I'm not throwing
No,
it.
I'm saying like they were trying to
That's
get
embarrassing.
something going.
I'm sorry. You say what you want about Denver won the game. Good for them, but
And they were also
if you
up a
can't,
lot.
if you can't target your number one receiver
You
once
didn't
in
even
a
get a
game,
target?
that's
no, not
unbelievable.
even a target.
That's
Not even a
unbelievable.
target.
Just looking at him.
But I looked at him. Hey, coach, can I get the ball? They were looking at you.
We're lucky it's a Friday, guys.
It is Friday.
Boston College Vautech over under 48 total points in the game last night. Chris and I went over. Tony went under. It was a total of 63 points. Vautech won 42-21. Dodgers Mets over under 7 runs. Chris and I went over. Tony went under.
Dodgers are
won
killing me
10
on
to
this
2.
on the overs.
Yeah,
So,
they are.
12
They're
runs.
taking care of the overs on their own.
Yamamoto last night against Quintana. How many strikeouts, or who would have more strikeouts? We all chose Yamamoto. Yamamoto had 8 to Quintana's 2, so he wins that one. Tommy Edman over under 1.5 runs, RBIs, runs plus RBIs plus hits. Chris and Tony went over. I went under. I was wrong because he went 2 for 6 with 3 RBIs. And did Ohtani steal a base last night? Chris said yes. Tony and I said no. It was a no.
He hasn't even attempted one yet in the playoffs.
He's done.
No, he's caught stealing. He was
He's
caught
already
stealing once.
created his
I'm
own
sorry.
club. So
What,
he
did
does.
the Padres catch him stealing?
No, I think the
It had
Mets
to be
caught him
Mets.
stealing.
Had to be
All right.
Mets.
Yeah, I don't remember anyway.
He wasn't
All
on
right.
base enough for the Padres.
Yeah. All right. Anyway,
You're right.
let's go to today's Yankees at Cleveland. Cleveland riding the wave now of the yesterday's victory. Yankees still favored by 1.5 runs. Start with you, Tony. You are 13-13 this week as you go into the final
1.5
day.
runs to the Yanks.
Yanks favored by 1.5. So if you take Cleveland, you get runs.
Give me the Yanks.
Gonna take the Yanks. All right, Scrape. Ooh, I'm a go. You're
Guards.
You're 16-10 this week, Scrape.
Guards.
You're leading actually.
Okay.
You need a bad day here.
Going guards.
I'm 13-13, just like you are, Tony. I will take. I'm rooting for the Guards, so I'll take them here and hope they only lose by 1. Juan Soto gets in here. 1.5 total bases.
Book it.
Over under. You're not your turn. It's gravy.
Juan Soto hasn't been incredible during the playoffs.
Let's see if that's-
Remember, a walk
See
is
if
not a
that's-
total base.
You're right, and he
That
gets
is
like maybe
something that
4 of those per game.
Juan Soto detractors would mention that.
I'll say he gets a double tonight.
Gets a double, goes over. Well, you don't have to root for him to go under. Tony, you say way over.
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 Rated.
Luis Gil, or Gil, G-I-L. I think it's Gil.
I've heard Gil.
Yeah. He's the starter for the Yankees. 4.5 strikeouts. I'm going to say under because I don't think Aaron Boone's going to leave him in the game very long. Tony?
Luis Gil over under 4.5 Ks.
Over.
Oh, you say over. Okay. Scrape?
5 seems like a lot, so I'm going to go under.
Under. All right, into some college football now. I bring this one up because Army and Navy are both undefeated
For the
at
record,
this point in the
7-3
season.
postseason play. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Soto?
Yes.
All right.
It was for Scravy, not you.
No, that's fair. Army and Navy are both undefeated at this point in the season for the first time since 1945. So this Army and Navy are both having great years. Army tomorrow favored by 17 over East Carolina. And this is Tony. Does Army
Mets
keep
pouring
it keep it
on.
going? Army's been pouring it on. So is Navy, but I don't think they're playing tomorrow.
So have the Mets.
Oh wow.
7-1 now in the bottom of the third. Mets.
Is this I'm sorry, it was an over. I was looking at the Mets stuff.
Yes, Army by 17.
Over.
Over? No,
That's
you
why I
have to,
asked you if it was an over.
No,
No,
it's a
it's
spread.
not. It's a spread.
Oh.
17-point spread.
Give me Army.
Army. Scraby. And take the Pirates of East Carolina.
I do like them.
Yes, I don't see why you wouldn't.
I do like that.
Always been a big
I'm
fan.
going to go East Carolina. 17 points is a lot.
East Carolina. Oh, I got to take Army because they're hot. Texas -5 over Georgia. I believe it's the first time Georgia's been an underdog in like 4 years.
That's
been a
pretty
long
good.
stretch that Georgia has not been underdog, but they are in this game to number 1 Texas. Scraby, what happens here?
One of my good friends is a major Georgia fan, and they are telling me they don't feel good about their own team. So I'm going to say Texas.
All right. I'm going to say Adam Klug's Bulldogs plus the points. Tony, Texas by 5 over
Texas.
Georgia. Texas also, okay. WNBA title could be decided tonight. The Liberty lead 2-1 in Minnesota. Over under 159.5 points. Basically, both teams need to get to 80 to beat that.
Neither of them did last game.
Not last game. It was only 73 to 70, I
Serving
think.
Mr. Flaherty right now.
Oh, another run. 8-1.
Wow. Mets are just piling on.
Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
I'll take Minnesota. Or no, it's over under, Chris. I'll take over. I think they go 160 points or more. Tony.
Over.
Over? Tony likes over.
Under.
Under. I told you guys the one time I bet a game, made a real bet in Vegas on an NBA Finals game, and I picked under.
And he was
And
terrible.
it was 3 hours of excruciatingly rooting for every basket to miss.
Of course it was.
And it just wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth the $10 I won or whatever. All right, and one more. Sunday, had to throw this one in there for you, Scrabe. 49ers, 1.5 over the Chiefs in the NFL Game of the Week. Tony's up first. Chiefs trying to go to 6-0.
Oh, yeah. You know what it is.
Chiefs.
Pat, my homeboy, and the Chiefs.
Patrick Mahomes has not been great
okay,
this
yeah,
year.
every time you say that, you guys are 0 of your last 5 against
I'm
him.
aware.
He never loses.
I feel
That's
like
one of
this is going to be
This
the
is the
time.
year, huh?
This is
the year.
I'm not going to say anything about the playoffs, but in the regular season, they're going to break their losing streak.
I hope so for y'all's sake, because at some point you start looking across that line like,
They're
especially,
better than us.
especially if it's a close game, you know how it's ending.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is going to throw an interception or throw a touchdown
Yeah, there you
as
go.
the time runs out.
There you go. That's exactly how it's going
Did you make a pick in there somewhere?
Yeah, 49ers.
Oh, okay.
Baby.
I hate to go with Scraby, but I just think the Chiefs have too many injuries. And I also have to root for every team to lose a
All right,
game.
we got to book it to break, guys.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
jeez.
The Dodgers, they're just leaving Flaherty out there to die, basically.
He's got 73 pitches in 3 innings.
And he's given up 8 runs now. We'll tell you what the Mets did to pile on when we come back as Gwynn and Chris continues after traffic.
From the 97.3
All right, Gwynn and Chris, back with you. This will be a fun segment for a couple of reasons. Number one, we're going to recap the Mets just pouring it on the Dodgers here. Alonso hit the 3-run homer. Dodgers scored on a wild pitch in the second inning to make it 3-1. Bottom of the third, though, Marte 2-run double, and then with 2 outs, 3 consecutive hits. Alvarez RBI single, Lindor RBI triple, Nimmo RBI single. It is 8-1 now, Mets. Jack Flaherty was hoping to pitch the Dodgers into the World Series today. And instead, he's pitched himself 3 innings and given up 8 hits and 8 runs. We'll keep an eye on it for you. The Dodgers are able to creep their way back. But we wanted to talk about tomorrow's big game in college football. Georgia's facing Texas. And as far as that, I think it's a good game. I'm trying to watch some of it. Top 5 teams. Texas is the new number 1. Georgia's kind of the old number 1.
Ooh-wee.
Whoa, what a homer that was by
Paez. 8-2.
8-2. Thank you, Tony. So Georgia's going to take on Texas. And all I cared about when I saw this matchup was the last time they faced each other, which was in the Sugar Bowl in 2019. And you're maybe asking yourself, well, why would this game matter? What does anybody remember about this game? When I tell you what happened, you're going to probably remember it out there.
Yeah.
It was the night that Bevo, the Longhorn, tried to break out of his stall and almost did.
He was going after Uga.
Trying to attack Uga, the mascot of Georgia.
Yep.
It was a memorable moment. Do you have some of the audio of this?
Here's the audio.
Crazy moment.
This is like a man walking on the moon. Never before.
Oh my Lord! Oh! Oh! Can live television get better than that? No! Maybe that was not the best idea, but we don't care.
Can we get a replay on that? Can we get a replay?
Oh!
That's targeting. That's targeting?
I've seen a lot of things.
It was worth it. That's
Good line there at the end.
Oh, man. Like,
that would have been all bad.
Hey, this
So
is
what was happening
TV.
in the video? Because I didn't see it.
Oh, well,
when he played it there.
Uga's just walking around right outside Bevo's pen.
Yeah.
Uga had no idea.
No.
His handler picked up on what was happening and kind of
Got him out of there.
yanked him up out of
But
there.
the woman that was next to Bevo did not fare so well. She went down.
But Bevo really made a lunge for him, right?
Charged
Yeah.
at Uga.
Yeah.
And this is another reminder as to why we shouldn't keep animals as mascots, everybody.
You know, it's going to be all she wrote when that LSU Tiger somehow gets out of
Wait,
his
do
cage.
they actually have a tiger?
They
Yeah,
do.
they
Mike
do.
the Tiger.
Yes.
Don't you remember that was a trivia
He is-
question one day?
He is 1,000%.
Penguin Pete yesterday. Mike
In a
the
cage.
Tiger.
I do have some bad news about the Georgia-Texas game, though. Tomorrow, there will not be a rematch between Uga and Bevo. With the game in Texas, Uga is not traveling. So
Uga was like,
I'm a little
"Forget that."
disappointed. Uga's like, I'm going to stay at home and chew on my bones.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Uga must have a pretty good life, though.
I think it's Uga the 4th. I think they've had 4 Ugas through the years, maybe
All right.
5 even.
Well, Uga the 4th probably had a better life than Uga the 1st because Uga the 4th
Because
is
of
more
improving
famous.
conditions.
Yeah, yes, improving conditions, and
I will say one thing. I know Uga was once on the cover of Sports Illustrated back when that mattered. It was a big story on mascots, and Uga made the cover. So
I guess a
anyway.
bulldog's okay, but a longhorn seems to be a lot to bring to a football game.
Yeah, if you want to see a funny video, though, look up the Bevo versus Uga matchup of 2019. Funny stuff. All right. Aztecs, by the way, if you're wondering, are off tomorrow. They're idle. And then 3-3.
Washington State
comes
the
here
other
next
side,
weekend. Yeah, that'll be a fun game.
I
Aztecs
think I
still
might
have a
try to
tough
go check
schedule.
that out.
Okay. Well, you're
Think I
more than
might-
welcome
I've-
to. Do you
I
have any
haven't been to-
contacts over at the school?
I might have a couple. I haven't been to a football game yet.
Oh, yeah,
Except the
you'll
new
like
stadium.
it.
Yeah,
You'll
I
like
need to
it.
go.
You'll have a
definitely need
good
to go.
time. The stadium I think it's a good atmosphere, and you've got a good close ticket. Their schedule's not exactly a piece of cake the rest of the way. The Aztecs still face Washington State at Boise State. They also have to go to UNLV. So they got 3 tough games at least coming up the second half of the season, but I've liked what I've seen as the team has improved along the way.
Hey, bearer of misinformation.
Uh-oh.
Uga is not just 4 generations.
He's past that now? Yeah.
11 generations.
Whoa!
This is Uga the 11th?
This is Uga the 11th.
Oh, my goodness.
Thanks to M. McKee for that.
Thank you. 11th?
Since
Sorry to hear that-
1956.
I'm
is
sorry to
when
hear that 7 Uggas have passed since I last checked on this.
10 Uggas
Seven?
have. Oh,
No,
since
but
you
I was up to
last
4.
checked.
I was up to 4.
Okay. I was like,
But they're up to 11.
I mean, what's a bulldog's lifespan? Like 8 to 10 years?
I don't know. Whoever that Ugga was that got attacked by Bevo almost had it end there. So,
Yeah, 8 to 10 years. Look at me.
very good.
All
All
right.
right, 8-2 after the Pajes home run. Still 4th inning. Who knows? Maybe the Dodgers get back in this game. One thing we do know, we're going to talk baseball. Cody Decker, baseball podcaster, former Padre, joins us next on Gwynn and Chris.
fellow Matt Scraby. Dodgers down 8-2, 2 outs. Bases loaded for Mr. Freddie Freeman. We'll see how this goes. We'll have Cody Decker on here shortly to talk a little bit about this series.
It's a big moment here.
Yeah,
I mean, they just took out the left-hander Peterson, and they brought in the righty reliever, Reed Garrett, to face Freddie Freeman. The Dodgers need this base hit or double or something to get back in this game, and I think this is big. I mean, if they start getting a little momentum, who knows? The 8-2 could be erased, Tony.
Yeah, no. 2-1 count. Cody Decker.
Why are you even putting that in the universe?
I mean, because it could happen. It's just getting everybody prepared. He's setting up
the
stage.
I honestly don't have an unbelievable allegiance to the Mets here.
Oh, neither do I. But there's one main goal that we all want or are all striving for, and that's for the Dodgers not to win a World Series.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't think the Mets are going to be able to stop them at this point. They may be able to stop them today.
I didn't know we had a Dodger lover on the show.
Yes,
Well,
I grew up in L.A. and I went to. I know. Yeah, I told you I used to go see the Garv. My buddy, the Garv.
I always get questions like, "Does Chris use
Dodger
the Rockies?"
lover and a Giant lover in here.
Does Chris use the Rockies to cover up the fact that he's a Dodger fan? And I type back, "Yes."
Yeah, well, you get me in trouble with everybody out there.
If you love Mediterranean food, try Spiro's for authentic Mediterranean cuisine in Coronado or La Jolla. For dining or takeout options, visit spiroscuisine.com. Here's some traffic.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Vicki Pepper.
This report brought to you by Soapy Joe's Car Wash, saluting our vets with a free car wash on Veterans Day. 805 South at Palm. Looks like this earlier accident has been cleared from lanes. However, I would still classify that as a very unpleasant drive as you come away from Claremont Mesa. At Soapy Joe's Car Wash, we root for our home team of military. If you're active duty, a veteran, or military spouse, text VETS to 94333 and claim your free Magic Joe Wash at any location on Veterans Day, November 11th. Soapy Joe's is good, clean fun. I'm Vicki Pepper with Gwynn and Chris on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Count is run full on Freddie Freeman, which always seems to be the case when the Dodgers are up at bat. Bases loaded, top of the fourth. My dream to do a little play-by-play. Struck him out on a backdoor curveball. Looking. How about that? Mets hang on to the lead 8-2.
Backdoor breaking ball.
Yes.
Frozen.
Freddie gave up on it.
Oh, that's a perfect pitch, too.
Got rung up properly. It was a good call.
He tried to play it off and drop his bat like, oh, that's ball 4.
Gave it a shot, but didn't sell it well enough. So Mets continue to lead 8-2 there, Tony.
That was a big spot. I think you're absolutely right. In the game where you're getting beat up like that, you want to at least chip away every little bit
get a couple.
you can.
Yeah.
You get to those spots and you get nothing, those can be demoralizing. All right, let's jump to the phone line. One of my fave, Cody Decker, joins us. Beetle and Decker, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Plus, you can catch him on Bet for the Cycle, BetQL. Cody, how are you, my friend?
Oh, my guy, I am great. I'm literally just out right now watching this game, and isn't it amazing how no lead feels safe in any of these playoff games? It feels like it's a runaway, but no, it's not.
It's not. Cody, I mean, you said, I was listening to you and Michelle's show the other day, and you were talking specifically about the Dodgers and what's impressed you. As you mentioned, both series have been exciting. They may not necessarily end up being all that close when it's all said and done, but they have given us some moments. But you in particular were impressed with what you've seen on the Dodgers side.
Yeah, it's specifically with how Dave Roberts has actually worked this bullpen. I mean, the guy with the ability to go on national TV in the 4th inning the other day and literally say what his game plan is. Say, hey, I'm trying to get 3 more outs out of Walker Buehler. We're going right to Kopech for Lindor, and then we'll see what happens. And that's exactly what played out. It's like he just said, here's my game plan, stop me, and you just simply couldn't. It's been fascinating to see how well this bullpen has actually come together, all things considered, where everybody said the Dodger bullpen has been one of their biggest weaknesses all year.
Careful when you say that, Cody. They're going to come to get you.
I know. Listen, I didn't root for it. I'm just saying what it is.
That's funny. Cody Decker is our guest. Yeah, they did it to the Padres, obviously, in the fourth game and, on into the fifth game. And I think the stat is in their victories in the playoffs, their bullpen has thrown 30 consecutive shutout innings. The thing is this good for the game of baseball with the Dodgers? I know they kind of have to do it, but I just really want to see some starting pitcher take the bull by the horns and give me 8 innings. But I think I'm going to be waiting a long while before it happens again.
I think those days, as much as I want to say I love those days, I'm really kind of enjoying how this game is somewhat morphing into something new. I'm just worried about what it's going to actually do, like players' salaries. If you're paying somebody like Yamamoto $300 million and he's only going 4+ innings, 5+ innings, then what is that going to do for the next generation of guys that are trying to sign who simply can't throw into the 6th inning? Like we watched it with Blake Snell for how many years until this year, until they let him loose. And wow, all of a sudden Blake Snell actually is pretty damn good if you let him see in a lineup for a 3rd time. Who knew? We never knew because no one would let him do it.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of fascinating to see, but I don't know if it's good for the game yet. I think time will tell. Yeah, I miss those gutty performances where a guy's going deep into the ninth, but I'm also fascinated. There's just so many good arms in baseball that it's almost selfish to give it to one guy.
Yeah. Cody, you obviously, I know, were one of the folks who looked at that Padres team and thought this team could go all the way. They could win a World Series title. Now, we've already talked about the Dodgers finding a way to pour cold water on it, but when you look at what the Padres had done up until Game 4 of that series, it really did feel like there was going to be no team, at least in the National League, that was going to be able to stop it if it wasn't going to be for the Dodgers.
Agreed. I truly thought the Padres were the best team in Major League Baseball going into that series, and I truly thought it was over until Game 4 happened, which I was, honest to God, shocked about it when it came down to a Game 5. I truly believe this, and I said this on my show multiple times, and maybe you agree, Tony, maybe you would disagree. I'm actually very interested. I firmly believe if that was a 7-game series, the Padres would be in the NLCS right now.
Yeah.
If the 5-game series, I think, kind of bit them a little bit because the Dodgers were able to run out the arms the way they were able to. You make it a 7-game series, all of a sudden that bullpen that everyone said was depleted actually is depleted.
Well, yeah, and the misery of the Padre fans would tell you that if they added another game, we'd just be 33 innings without a run. So I don't know exactly where that comes down. Cody Decker's our guest. Look, what happened to the Padres is hard to explain. How do you attack it if you're this organization moving forward? I mean, can you just ignore it and just say it was just a one-off and go into next season, or can this have an effect somehow?
I hope it doesn't have an effect in that, this is one of those rare times. You hear that phrase all the time, like, you repeat the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. That's insanity. But I don't think this is that. I really don't. I think this was an outlier series. And I think if you roll this same team out there next year, this team is going to the playoffs, if not the World Series. Maybe they go to as a wild card again. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, considering the fact the Dodgers beating the Padres in the series is the first time in the National League since the bye's been implemented that a bye team's actually moved forward. So the Padres, I think, are in a decent spot. The question is, how good are the other teams in the National League West going to be? I know we look at the Dodgers nonstop, but you think the Diamondbacks aren't ready to replenish and get ready for this next season? The Giants are begging to spend money. They already got fleeced by Arson Judge already. They got to get somebody.
It's funny because they clearly felt like they could have done better. They move on from Farhan. They bring in Buster Posey to kind of man the position. He's already done some work. He brings back their biggest free agent or soon to be free agent. And so let's talk about the American League Series. The Yankees and Yankees Guardians, probably the most exciting game so far in this postseason. Yankees tie it on Judge and Stanton homers. The Guardians end up winning it, tying it in the 9th, winning it in the 10th. And I think there was some talk about Stanton being towards the bottom of the lineup. They move him up. He comes up in a big spot. I mean, how do you think the Yankees are in the same spot virtually that the Dodgers are in that series?
A little bit, but man, I just can't count out these Guardians. I think it's going to be a 6-game series going the Yankees' way. I don't think that the Yankees are just going to sweep through Cleveland, because Cleveland has been the best home team in Major League Baseball. And Stephen Vogt is just shown that he is, even though he's a first-year manager, I played against that guy in the minor leagues for years. He is just a gutsy guy who really, really has some spark of magic with everybody. Literally everybody that comes in contact with Stephen Vogt believes that they are the best version of themselves. It's honestly I kind of equate it very similar to what Pat Murphy accomplished on a year out in Milwaukee. It's just, this team is so good, and watching them actually come together. Jimenez with that play in the 10th, which might have been the best defensive play I've ever seen in an October game, followed by the 2 obviously beautiful home runs. This team just doesn't go away. It's like the Mets right now. Like, they are very unkillable. Why don't they die? I don't know, but they won't die.
Cody Decker does the podcast, Mad Dog Sports Radio, and all the good stuff, and nice enough to join us. Former Padre, talking some baseball. Now, the thing that's been interesting, and Tony just talked about the game last night, but there's been a bunch of games this year that have turned against bullpens. And I wonder if this will have an effect moving forward, because everybody says in these, especially 7-game series, you get to see the same reliever over and over and over again. Maybe finally you catch up to them. Could that change the way people think a little bit? Because, I mean, it's been fun for the fans, but I think it's probably driving managers crazy.
I think you're right, but I think honest to God, A.J. Preller might have been ahead of the curve. When they got everybody they got bullpen-wise going into that trade deadline, I kind of almost spat out my drink going, oh, come on, you didn't even need that guy. But they got him anyways, and I'm looking at him like, I think if anything, that might be the trend. I don't think enough relievers, too many relievers is almost enough relievers at this point when it comes to Major League Baseball, and especially how the relievers are being used in games. We have more bullpen games in the playoffs than I ever remember seeing. There are no five-player staffs anymore. Everybody's hurt. The way the game is pitched now, everybody throws 95 plus, 100 plus, so the arms are going down. And by the time October comes around, you only have 3 healthy guys, so you better get all the bullpen arms you can get. If anything, that's the future of baseball. It's just bullpen games, man. And whether or not that's sexy remains to be seen. But right now, in my opinion, this is the best October I've ever seen.
Cody, it's so interesting because I think over the last, I'd say 10 years, it's been proven that you can win a World Series in different ways in terms of how you handle your pitching. We've seen teams like the Nationals put their best 3 starters, run those guys out, run them all the way to the title. We saw the Astros do a similar thing, throw their best starters out there, run it all the way to the title. But we've also seen in years, the Royals come to mind. You would have to say that any one of the 4 teams that show up in the World Series now is going to be doing it virtually via bullpen. It does show that there's a couple different ways to do it. It doesn't have to be one way.
Oh, absolutely. And here's the other thing. How glaring is it, the teams that have a quote-unquote closer, like a real closer to the ones that are not? I'm in New York City right now. It was a therapy session today with all my callers today because everybody was just like, we don't got a closer. How could we win without a closer? I'm like, dude, look everywhere. Who has a closer? The best closer in baseball this year was Emmanuel Clase. He had a 0.6
That's right.
ERA. He gave up 2 home runs this season. He gave up 2 in 3 minutes last night. Baseball makes no sense, dude.
Yeah.
It really doesn't.
Yeah, the postseason's been great because of that, I think.
Yeah.
Cody. But now that the Padres are out, we are left to root for lesser things. And I think we're still rooting for Jackson Merrill to win the Rookie of the Year award. But a lot of us are kind of resigning ourselves to feeling like Paul Skeens is going to end up getting it. What are your thoughts? And especially being on the East Coast, do you think that people really got a fair look at Jackson Merrill the way we did?
No, I do not think people got a fair look at Jackson Merrill. How about this? Being on both coasts, playing for San Diego, living in San Diego, born and raised in L.A., and living in L.A. and being in the sports landscape on both coasts. Is there an East Coast bias? Yes. Yes, there is. My goodness, yes, there is. Anyways, Jackson Merrill should absolutely win the Rookie of the Year, in my opinion. He played every day, the numbers he put together, how he just take away everything he did and just say what he did from seventh inning on should get him the award. It's astonishing what that kid pulled off this year. I do think it's going to be Paul Skeens, because at the end of the day, it's not about the numbers and what you affect games. I keep looking at it as a human element, and that it's writers that actually vote on this award.
100%.
And writers talked a lot and wrote a lot of papers about specifically Paul Skeens and not Jackson Merrill. And I know that's not the answer we want to hear, but I think it's the honest and true answer.
Unfortunately, I agree with you, Cole. I really do. I mean, it's a lot of times about the narrative, and it has already been set from the moment Paul Skeens got to the big leagues, Cole. Hey, as always, man, appreciate you coming on, spending some time. Congratulations on the success. You and Michelle's show is pretty awesome, man, and appreciate you coming on, spending some time with us.
Thank you,
dude. Thank you for even having me. You guys are the best. Love you. Love San Diego, dude. Padres, can we please do this next year, please?
I think everyone's here with you, brother. Everyone's here with you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Cody. Cody
Thank
Decker. Beetle and Decker on Mad Dog Sports Radio. You can also catch him on Bet for the Cycle on BetQL.
He's got a great voice, delivery, and his stuff is real good.
Yeah.
He's funny. He gets it. He reminds me a little of our guy from the Bay Area.
Oh, Dieter Kurtenbach?
Sounded similar.
It's about time for us to catch up with Dieter.
Well, he's coming into basketball season. What now?
How
Did
is
you guys
Dieter
have a
off of
falling
our
out?
list?
No, we didn't have a falling out. I just don't agree with any of his opinions about the 49ers. So.
That's right. He always is going pretty hard on the 49ers.
He's like, Brock Purdy stinks. No, Dieter's a fair guy. I'll text him for next week.
I like
yes,
Dieter.
He does say that. But Dieter is a pretty fair guy. I mean, his takes aren't too crazy. But yeah, Cody Decker is very good.
What I like about Dieter is he is not from the Bay Area, but he gives off Bay Area feel. You know what I'm saying? He's from the Midwest, but
he's also 6'7", too.
Yeah,
so.
he's a big dude.
Yeah,
big dude.
He's a huge dude. And
Do you think the Mets have enough runs now, Tony? They just tacked on two more.
I think so. I think
10-2, still in the fourth inning.
I think they got enough at this point.
7 of the 9 Mets in the order have at least one RBI. And Alonso hit the 3-run homer in the first, and they've been bashing the Dodgers ever since. So we'll see.
Everybody likes the sound of the Dodgers getting bashed.
That is happening to them today for sure.
Got a few minutes left before we head to break. What you got, Scrape?
I was just going to make some crazy hand signal that you're probably not going to understand.
Yeah,
so
that's why I saw you move your hand. That's why I asked you.
I've learned. Okay?
You're landing planes over there again?
Yes, I'm landing planes.
We already got to traffic.
Yeah,
I read my read.
What else you did?
What else
we
you
did?
got?
Cody Decker.
Yep.
We just, there.
Oh,
you made it.
I was gonna say,
were you about to give me a stretch?
No, I was going to go 3-0, but then I was like, he's going to be like, what, 30 what? 30 nuggets? What?
4 o'clock hour on the other side. We got Chris versus Fan. We also want to get to Tony Bennett and the changing landscape for coaches at the collegiate level.
Not the singer, the basketball
coach.
No.
Former basketball coach.
Former basketball coach, yes.
Right.
I think it's getting difficult for some of them, and we'll discuss in the 4 o'clock hour. And we're going to Chris on the other side.
Right now on 97.3 The Fan.
Welcome back. 4 o'clock hour kicks off here on Gwynn and Chris. Friday, heading into the big sports weekend. Good college football games tomorrow, including Georgia, Texas. Aztecs are idle. And then a good Sunday of NFL stuff. 49ers Chiefs is the marquee matchup there. Super Bowl rematch. One team looks like they're going to the Super Bowl again. The
One
other
team doesn't.
Trying to avoid getting their coach fired by the fans, the
Andy
fair
Reid
weather
should be
fans,
worried.
the fair weather fans of the Bay Area.
Andy Reid should be worried.
Andy Reid should be worried. He tries to flip it there.
I mean, he runs a tight ship over there with his.
He does.
Rasheed
That's why
Rice
they keep
and-
winning titles.
And keep getting players in trouble.
I can't disagree with Scraby there. The
Chiefs.
Chiefs are all welcoming. Let's be honest.
These are grown men. They make grown man
It's like,
decisions
hey,
on their own.
Kareem Hunt, we cut you years ago for something that you did in our uniform. But we need a running back. Can you please come back as soon as possible, Kareem? Please, please, please.
Time is healing.
The only thing that is surpasses forgiveness is need.
Yes.
That's ultimately true as well.
And need is why when a cracker falls on the floor, I have 5 seconds.
No, you don't.
5 seconds. It's a rule.
Yeah. I
No,
said
you
people,
It's a rule.
Well, you're going to go ahead, Scrabe, or whoever.
Well, no, the chat was asking me to
That's
bring
the
this
problem
up.
with these damn cameras. They follow
Yes,
you
I
everywhere.
kind of forget that they're on sometimes. I will say that.
So Chris dropped his cracker on the floor apparently, and the camera AI followed him to
It
the
followed
floor.
me to the
It did.
floor.
And then it followed your hand going from the floor to your mouth. So you ate a cracker off the floor. 5-second rule doesn't apply where feet go. So
Where does it apply? Where does it apply then?
Maybe my bedroom because it's like
Your bedroom?
Your dog walks around in there.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's true.
And
That's
you know
true.
what? You can say whatever you want, but I never have had that gene about germs.
I literally
It
just
just
got
means
chill
nothing
go
to
down
me.
my spine.
It means nothing
So
to me. I know
gross.
to you it means
Hey,
everything.
I
Scrape?
listen. The only if for some reason it crosses my mind, I might not abide by the 5 second, but typically it doesn't. So the 5 second rule is in play.
It's
It
in
is.
place, especially after a dry piece of food. That's not
Dry.
gonna-
That is the key there.
not
It's
gonna,
dry.
Okay, Ben Higgins puts his feet down there.
I don't.
See?
I just said I
Greg
don't
Nelson
care.
puts his feet down there.
I just said I don't care.
Sammy Lev puts his feet down there.
Don't care.
Chris Ello puts his feet down there.
My shoes down there, not my bare
Or
feet.
you got open. You usually have an open.
But Scraby,
shoe.
will you admit? Because I will admit this. I am far over to the like there's more of a middle ground. I'm nowhere near the middle ground.
probably in the
like
middle
I
ground.
don't care about germs. It doesn't bother me. You are on the extreme opposite of that. If any human being comes within 5 feet of this guy, and that means like yesterday, Tony walked over to try and look at something on his computer screen. Scraby shot himself back, almost fell out the window. Because he just you are very adverse to any contact.
I am.
I have a bunch of partners that are germaphobes.
Jesse is more
Jesse
germaphobe than me.
Is he though?
Yes, because he won't even shake people's hands.
Jesse will never talk to me again if he hears this cracker story. I'm in deep trouble with Jesse now.
Jesse is the master of the knuckles. If he isn't feeling the touch, you get knuckles.
Ooh,
No,
Ben
can't
Higgins
do it.
definitely put his bare feet down there, says the chat. How does Ben Higgins' feet taste, Chris?
Delish. So, there might have been a vacuum run through here in the interim.
I'm here when the cleaning crew comes, and they never vacuum in
Hey,
here.
Nice.
it's all good. He's gonna live.
Yeah,
he
he'll
won't.
live.
He won't be sick. He's building up the
I have built up
immune
immunity
system.
That's
yeah.
right. I do
You
follow
gotta
that.
remember, you gotta remember, Scrape. As much as you have transitioned to the germaphobe that you are, we are. Well, yeah, no, you are too. 80s babies, dog. We spent at least half of our life not concerned about any of this stuff, and then we had a reckoning, and then we've all tried to. But immunity is built up at this point.
Oh, it has nothing to do with me getting sick. It just is the thought.
The only thing I am not immune to is you coming into the studio with COVID 3 years ago and giving it to me.
That's didn't know I had COVID.
That's the only thing.
And that sucker tried to blame me for it too.
And he did. He tried to pass it off on you.
Tony's always traveling, so it was an easy person to blame.
It must have been Tony. Like, no, he wasn't here.
David says, Scraby, try driving a charter bus with 56 strangers every day. I do not want them
absolutely.
to do that.
You got to deal with it. It's okay.
I have gotten to the point now where, I touch a lot of people on a daily basis. I know that sounds crazy, but, shaking hands. And you do come across some slimy hands from time to time. So you gotta rock with the Purell sometimes.
So a listener saw me game 3 of the DS walking back to my seat, and I had just come from the bathroom, so my hands were wet still, and they wanted to shake my hand, and we've already talked on the chat, but I was like, "Arr!" and I go, sorry, and I put my elbow up.
It honestly is one of the things that gives me the most joy watching Jesse.
Yes, when you're in there, what happens when Scraby comes in to say hi to Jesse?
Well, he knows. They
Scrape, just keep so much their distance.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know that I can't get into his space.
Terms of this, they don't even. Scraby won't even come down the hallway.
Not even down the hallway.
He'll just talk. I'll just hear him. I won't actually see him.
Yeah, I don't want to bother you while you're at work.
No, you don't want to get near anybody.
I used to purposely come in early and mess with Scraby and get it as close to him as I possibly
does not
could.
like it. I mean, it's a serious thing. I have discovered that this is not. This really matters to him. I think it's something you need a little.
Paez went deep again.
3-run homer.
Did you see the way he didn't fan through the ball?
Wow!
Didn't want to get in trouble for it,
and all of a sudden it's 10-5 with that. It's still the 5th inning.
The good thing they got those 2 extra runs, or it'd be 8-5 right now.
Yes.
It'd be a little closer. One of my funnier experiences. I know we got to get to the Chris versus fans, but one of my funny experiences. Remember when I invited you and Chris out to the little Lululemon event?
Yeah.
Watching Scraby have to talk to people that he didn't know.
How about he had to change into the pants? I don't think he liked that.
he was so uncomfortable.
I was.
It's one of my favorite things to watch.
But I always look for the person that I know, and I know that it was Tony's event, so I can't just go monopolize Tony's time. Thankfully, Chris and his wife showed up, so I just latched onto them the rest of the night.
Yeah, lucky us.
All right, let's get to some Chris versus the fans.
If you had one shot, one opportunity to take down the human almanac himself,
howdy do.
Now is your time.
Listen to me, this guy is dangerous.
Now is your opportunity to win a prize.
Well, I hope you know what you're in for.
Chris versus the fans starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
So Dan says this on the chat. Only Lucky gives me hugs, which is true. Lucky does give me
you let
hugs.
your dog
Speaking
kiss you?
of germs.
Do you let your dog kiss you?
No, he doesn't actually do that.
He doesn't kiss you anywhere on the mouth.
No, he
Come
I wish he did, but he
Every
doesn't.
dog
you would
does
allow
that.
Well, hold up. You would allow that.
If he did, yeah.
I cannot figure this out for the life of me.
Yeah. How do you allow that?
My wife is a big let the dog kiss her in the mouth.
You
It's
just
like,
said that you've told us.
I watched the dog
roll in poop.
Not only roll in poop, but lick themselves And then you let them lick on your face.
No, the face, the mouth area, no. Like, if they want to lick my cheek, sure, go ahead, lick my cheek. I don't care.
How
But
does-
not the mouth.
Lucky's lower extremities taste. I mean,
I'm sorry?
You got them all on your side of your face.
He doesn't. That is a weird thing to ask.
I'm just saying. He's licking you all on your
He doesn't
cheek.
lick. He's not a licker. He's not a kissy dog. He's not. I swear to you. I
He's
swear
just a
to you.
rolling
I've had
doo-doo
dogs
dog.
in the past that do kiss a lot. That's weird to say,
and you let them kiss you.
yes,
That's my point.
like a little dog when they get up and they start licking
the
my
little
cheek.
dogs lick themselves all the time, and
They
then
can
you
lick
turn-
my cheek. It's okay,
That's disgusting.
and they're my dogs, so it's not like.
It's his cracker,
But it was on the floor where other people's feet were.
and your dog was
Okay,
licking himself.
we have to move on.
Your
I'm just
dog
saying.
steps in poop and then licks you after licking his
He
paws.
does. He's not even listening over here.
Hopefully, it's just.
He's
his
not even
paws.
I'm
listening
hearing
over
what
there.
I want to hear.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Let's go.
The rules. You have to make it through 3 questions. Each question will get more difficult. If you get the question right, you move on. If you get it wrong and Chris gets it right, you're eliminated. But if Chris gets it wrong, then you move on to the next question or you win. If you're a first-time player, let us know before we get into it. You'll get that question for free. And Chris vs. the Fans is presented by SD Fat Loss. Lose 20 to 30 pounds in just 60 days. Visit sdfatloss.com to schedule your free consultation. And you will be playing for a pair of tickets to Parker McCollum at Calco's Credit Union Open Air Theater on October 25th. Limited tickets remain at Ticketmaster.com. Now, Tony has requested that he get his job back, and I was hoping he would never ask, but he will be the host of Chris vs. the Fans when he is here.
So who's our
way it
first
should be.
contestant there, Scrape?
You know, as it should be, Chris. Is that what you just said?
Yes.
Makes me kind of sad. To
Well,
be
you
honest.
did a good job in his
But
stead.
this is his job.
But this is him, yeah.
All right, let's go to our first caller. Matthew is on the caller ID. Hello, Matthew.
Hello, gentlemen.
Matthew, how are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you very much.
All right,
All
here we
right.
go. First
And
question.
I'm a first-time player.
First time. Here we
Good
go.
to have you.
That was a little off right there, but that's all right. We'll make it work. Second question. Who hit the most triples in Padre franchise history?
Ooh, most triples in Padres franchise history. Gotta go with your pops. You had some wheels on them back in the 80s.
He did indeed
This
have some
surprised me.
wheels.
He basically
Jerry
holds,
Curl in the wheels.
he was fast, and he stole over 50 bases. And he does, if anybody asks any Padre hitting questions, he basically holds all the records except for home runs, which is Manny now,
Yep.
and on base percentage, which is Gene Tennis of all people.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's always Tony Gwynn.
All right, on to question number 3.
This is it. Matt, take it down.
Let's just go full Padre loaded questions.
All right.
What former Padre pitcher has started the most games in franchise history?
Started the most games?
As a pitcher, I'm sorry.
As a pitcher, sorry.
Yes.
Let's see here. Go 90s. Hitchcock.
Sterling Hitchcock, who threw out one of the pitches. I think it was game 4.
He did.
3.
Bad game for him to do that.
4, can't remember. All right. That is incorrect.
Stay there.
Not Sterling Hitchcock.
One of my friends would be very upset with me if I didn't get this correct.
Yeah,
And the reason I'm going to get it correct, I think,
because it's him.
is because it's him, but he also pitched in an era where they started every 4th day instead of every once a week like PV and the rest of these guys did. So I'm going to guess Randy Jones. Yeah.
Sorry about that, Matthew.
Good try.
So
good
close.
Good try,
effort.
yes.
Yep.
But so far.
Randy Jones.
RJ in the
RJ.
building. Shout
He's
out,
actually
RJ.
got his name when I was going through the records. He's got his name at the top of a
Yeah.
lot of the pitching
Sure he
stuff.
does.
RJ's the real deal.
All right, let's go to our next contestant. We will go
Cook
to
a mean barbecue, too.
Yes.
Yes, he does. Sean Fallbrook.
What's up, Sean? How are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're
Pretty
doing
good.
well. Here
Pretty
we
good.
go. First question.
First one, Tony.
Where does the Kraken live?
Seattle.
Sure, that's fine. That's fine.
I'm lucky. You're lucky that he actually was asking about the hockey team because I thought he was talking about some animal somewhere.
No, I was, but
some not
answer,
animal, but what is it?
Mythical creature.
We would have
mythical
taken
creature.
Seattle or the sea.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you had a lot of possibilities.
On to question number 2. Oh, this is a Padre-centric question. Gotta have followed the Padres.
Yeah.
Tanner Scott, Brian Hoeing were traded to the Padres for prospects. Name 2 of the 4 prospects.
8 prospects. I'm so mean.
I have no idea.
That's
No
a good idea.
Is a good idea.
That's how you do it. You don't want to
Stay
give
there,
me any
Sean.
help.
Elo for the steal.
Yes. How many?
Just 2. I need 2.
What
2
do you
of the
mean
4.
just 2? I can't even name one.
Well, there's 4. Just give me 2 of the 4.
I can't name one.
You might be in trouble.
Graham Pauley?
Okay.
I don't know.
Really?
No, the other one was Dylan Lesko, but he was on the other trade. You asked this question the other day. Trying to remember any of these guys they traded. I don't know.
All right.
I got to give it up. I don't follow this.
You are the winner.
You know that.
Stay
I don't
right
remember.
there.
You could have gone with Robbie Snelling. You could have got him with Adam Major, Graham Pauley,
Adam Major I could have maybe come up with because he
and
was
Jay
up here.
Bashirs. So,
Jay Bashirs.
Yeah.
Yes, I know him
Here we
not
go.
well at all.
question number 3.
All right, good for you.
Oh, wait. I thought that was a question number 3. Duh.
No, that was the answer.
No,
to
that was
question
as hard
number
as
2.
a question number 3.
Oh,
so-
well, it should have just been 1, so I got it right.
Oh, yes.
No?
All right, question number
No,
3,
here we go.
Sean.
For all the
I even
money.
told Sean, hang on the line.
Sean, here we go. You'll be all right.
Oh, wow. These are tough here.
Oh, boy.
Who is credited with designing the modern-day baseball field?
Da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da.
Chris might-
Rawlings.
Oh, we went with Rawlings.
Baseball company?
Yeah. Baseball company does baseball field. That's incorrect, though.
Stay there.
Doubleday invented the game, but I remember a name, Alexander Cartwright.
Were you
Is
guys
that
were you guys like best friends back in the day or something?
Me and Al?
Yeah, you and Al.
We went to lunch.
Sean,
yeah, is
I'm
that
sorry.
right?
That
That's
is
right.
correct.
Obviously, I
Yes,
heard
I'm
the
so
bell.
sorry, Sean.
Sorry, Sean, you got
I
unlucky there.
prematurely.
I
called
remember
you a
that
winner.
name, but I will tell you, Tony, you gave me a little bit of a clue by saying it was a tougher one, because Doubleday's obvious answer. So I went with the other one.
Are you blaming it on me for
No,
giving
I'm
up the
just-
answer?
I am.
I'm giving Sean
I
somebody
think I
to
should
blame
take back
it
the
on.
hosting
All
duties.
3 questions, third questions are tough. So technically,
Yeah, there
I
you
could
go.
have said it
Fair
about any
enough.
of them.
I just
So are
heard
we
back
going to
from Adam. He
tiebreaker?
said, "I am now the host of
Are
Christmas."
we going to the tiebreaker?
Yes, because we're so deep into
Come
this at this
on.
point.
I hate the tie break.
Who's our player?
Are you telling
Tony,
us?
you just give us a player off the top
Oh,
of your head.
who is our
Yeah.
player? Nick Van Exel.
Oh, wow.
Hey,
Nick
I
Van-
like
that
it.
is a
University of
random
Cincinnati
one.
Bearcat.
Nick Van Exel.
Van Exel. Nice.
All right.
Good left-handed
Let's go there.
guard.
Let's go to Jacob. Hello, Jacob.
Hello,
My
Jacob.
favorites.
Hello.
Jacob, good luck to you, sir.
Have you ever played a
Thank
tiebreaker
you.
before?
No, I haven't, but I call in frequently. I'm
Okay.
I'm in the chat. I'm the Jaguars fan and the Padres fan. That's
Oh, okay. I know. I know.
Oh, he's the guy that
Yes.
threatened me that the Jaguars were going to beat the Dolphins. If I
Yes, he
recall.
also said.
Yeah, and I regretted that statement.
And Brandon Ayuk was supposed to be a Jaguar at some point, right?
He was hoping.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
No, thanks for calling in, Jacob, and thanks for being on the chat.
All right, Jacob, here we go.
Yes. The question, I'm going to ask Chris for a number. He's going to give it. You're going to guess whether or not the actual number is higher or lower than what Chris guessed. Chris. Oh, I got to get the total stats. How many steals did he have in his career?
Nick the Quick had big hands. Huge
Oh,
hands.
Nick Van Exel. I was thinking stolen bases for a moment, which he didn't have any.
No.
But steals, Nick, how many years did he play?
He played 9, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Yeah, 14 years. Van Exel had a good run there.
Yeah, he did.
All right, 14 times 10 per year would be 140, but no, 10. That's stupid. 700. I think he had 50
700
per year.
Jacob, is the actual answer higher or lower than 700?
I'm gonna say lower.
You're
Lower.
gonna say lower.
Wow.
Sorry, Jacob. Thank
He
you
went
for
over
playing.
that, huh?
You were really close, Chris.
Really?
726.
Oh,
yeah, that's pretty good.
He's always good at this kind of stuff.
All right. Next contestant is going to be John in East County. Hello, John.
Hey, how you guys doing?
We're doing
pretty
well.
good. Pretty
Good
good.
to have you on, John.
Hey, Scravy. You know, the other day you were talking about swimming with the rays and the sharks.
Yes.
And eating. Have you know, my 11-year-old granddaughter did that last year for her birthday.
She's way braver than I am.
Yeah, shout out to your
Yes,
11-year-old grandma.
11
she's
years
way
old.
braver.
Did you hear that, Scravy?
Way braver than
I bet
I
she
am.
also will, doesn't mind having somebody come over and give her a hug once in a while.
Unlike you. Yeah.
She's
Unlike
11.
you.
Well, everybody loves a hug, man.
Except you.
Except you.
True. All
right,
right, well, thanks for
True.
sharing that, John. She is very brave. She might be a stunt person one day. Chris, how many points did he score in his career?
Oh, man. Now I'm going to have to get my calculator out because he had more than...
Your abacus?
I'm getting my phone, which is also a calculator. All right. 14 years.
Uh-oh, Mookie just hit a home run.
Oh, no.
10-6 now. Mets lead.
Look
top
at the
of
Mets
sixth.
fans. Look at the Mets fans.
They're scared to death. The Mets led 10-2 if you're just tuning in. Now it's 10-6, and it's only the sixth inning. 25,000 points.
25,000 points. Is the actual answer, John, higher or lower?
I didn't catch who you're talking about. I didn't get the name.
Nick Van Exel. Did he score more or less
Nick
than
Van Exel?
25,000 points?
Former player for the Lakers.
Oh, yeah. I'd say less.
Less. You are very correct.
Oh, I missed it bad.
Stay right there, John.
He didn't get 1,700 points a year?
No, he got 12,658 career points.
All right. So he had about half that. Well,
There we
good for
go.
you.
Yeah.
John, you were able to ferret it out, come up with the answer.
I love it when you say ferret it out.
I know.
Can we go to break now? We're very late.
Let's go to break. More Gwynn and Chris on the other side. Here's some traffic.
From the 90s.
Welcome back. 427. We got about 3 minutes. We were supposed to get into Tony Bennett and the
That's
perils.
what the 5 o'clock hour will be for today.
Perils of college sports right now and coaching.
Yeah.
We'll push it to 5. This is the second push of the
Sorry,
evening.
Tony.
For you
afternoon.
Tony Bennett segment fans,
I also
hang with
found
them.
I also found a pretty good reason as to why the Padres should trade Jason Adam to keep Tanner
Here we
Scott.
go.
So we'll get into that.
Don't
too.
let AI dictate your fantasy lineup. Instead, get bite-sized fantasy football analysis in your ears. Listen to the Sleeper King podcast, giving you all the fantasy insight you'll need in just 20 minutes every day. Every league has a Sleeper King. It should be you. Follow the Sleeper King on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Scraby has really been trying to ram the Padre-themed subjects fresh off of the season ending.
Well,
I'm
somebody
very
wrote
excited.
something that the Padres ought to consider trading Jason Adam and then
Yes.
keeping Tanner Scott, and I just think it's a waste of everyone's time.
I don't
because
think
Tanner,
so.
It is because
It is.
Tanner Scott is not going to want to be a setup guy again. And I think it's fair. He's got closer stuff, closer mentality. I think he should get a chance to close.
Here's the deal. This is how it goes. I'm sure if Tanner Scott was told, listen, man, we'll pay you the same money as a closer. You'll be on a good team, but you might have to be a setup man.
You'll
I'm
never
sure,
be
I'm
a
sure-
closer.
I'm sure he'll take
You think
that.
he would take it?
I'm sure he would take that. But there's no one that's going to give him that kind of money to be
You don't think
a
that
setup man.
Okay, so the article also was saying, like, basically Tanner Scott's the only pitcher right now that owns Ohtani. And so why wouldn't the Padres want to bring in a guy who can neutralize Ohtani when they face the Dodgers? I mean, late in the game, that's when you want a guy
Listen,
that can do that.
You might have been able to convince me when the Padres were playing the Dodgers 17 times over the course of the year. And we saw the Dodgers twice early, and then we didn't see them again until virtually the end of the season. So, listen, I want Tanner Scott back. Let me be on the record saying
Yes.
that.
Nobody's going to disagree that
to
we
have
would love
Tanner
to have
Scott
him.
back. But I just don't think you're going to get him for anything other than closer money. And the question then becomes, can the Padres afford that?
Yes.
Because here's the other thing. Trading away Jason Adam, I don't know, helps you pay for Tanner Scott all that much more.
It would also help you restock the farm system.
How much was
Tanner Scott
Tanner, no,
or Jason Adam?
Yeah.
He was in like the very low, like a $5 million
Yeah,
range.
that's not going to cover what it's going to cost to bring Tanner Scott back.
So who's
now?
gonna...
I would love. Here's the other thing. I would love to be dead wrong. Like the market opens up and they're like, Tanner Scott, we don't got that much money for you. And then that's different. But I just think he's about to
Somebody's
get
going to pay him.
Paid
And
in the shade.
I'm telling you, it's going to be the Dodgers.
Money trees.
The Dodgers have seen him get Ohtani out every time.
See, this is why the
too.
Padres need to do everything they can
They
to
can't
not let
do
him.
it, Scrape. It's not fiscally responsible.
That's right. And you know what? It's hard to argue the Padres were physically responsible this year and were rewarded in a major way.
I'll be talking more about this on the Scraby Show. And
Is
also
there a Scraby show today?
Yes, Jeff Sanders is. He also put out like a projected roster for 2025 with different salaries and everything, and they're going to stay to his prediction. They're going to stay under the luxury tax, which this year is $255 million, and they're not even going to come close to that, which is fine. They're still going to spend around $200 million, which is still a heck of a lot of money.
I mean, with all due respect to my man Jeff, it's just
it's projections.
It's a guess.
Yes,
It's a
yes,
complete guess.
it is. He used MLB trade
Right.
rumor projections and like things like that.
Right.
And I understand.
It's a complete guess because you at this point it's tough to kind of predict what AJ is going to do on any given year. We haven't got it right yet, to be quite honest.
It's very true. It's very true. But it's fun to talk about, I think.
It is. No, it is. No
fun
doubt.
for you to talk about. not interesting to talk about when there's no chance of it happening.
I don't think you can say
wouldn't
there's
Aaron
no
Judge
chance.
look great in right field?
He
Sure.
would. He
Or
would.
left field,
No,
whatever.
I mean, the
But
Padres
it's
already-
not worth talking about. It's not happening.
Aaron
He's
Judge
assigned
is
to
under
another
contract for the rest of his career.
And Tanner Scott's not going to be on a team where he's not the closer. It's the same.
Oh my gosh,
the chances are about the same.
I just pray to the baseball gods that Tanner Scott returns to the team. I'm gonna actually write this down right now.
How did the security guard look in the Jordan special? After he beat him?
That's the look I'm going to get from Scraby if Tanner Scott returns.
You also said there was no way that the Padres were going to lose to the Rockies at home, and then they got swept at home.
Man, you've also had a couple predictions that came back to bite you too, buddy.
Yeah. I'm not saying I threw Ohtani under the bus, and then he started hitting home runs. So I know that I'm
You weren't the only one. Dave Marcus was putting him in as not hot quite often during the year, and he would hit a homer the very same day.
Dave.
All the time.
Dave.
Never failed. Shout out to Dave Marcus. Hope you're listening, buddy. All right, let's get to break. Big Five on the way. Scraby's ready to roll. What's he got here?
I got
a couple Disneyland questions.
I have Aaron Boone, what he thought about last night's game. I have Angel Reese telling us how much her rent is.
Oh, my God. I knew you were going to read this in totally...
No, I'm going to play the audio.
Okay, yeah, good. Let's go.
Yeah,
that's good.
All right.
I'm glad you got the audio.
Okay, yes.
More Gwynn and Chris on the other side.
Gwynn and Chris.
by the offense of the New York Mets. Welcome back to Gwynn and Chris. 4:38 is the time. Currently 11-6. The Mets keep tacking on runs, and the Dodgers keep catching up. Alonso hit a 3-run homer in the first inning. That got the Mets going. They had increased their lead to 8-1 and also to 10-2 at the end of the fourth inning. But Andy Pages, the Dodgers' young outfielders, hit 2 home runs in this game. Betts homered. Dodgers got it back to 10-6. Mets just scored on a sac fly by Jeff McNeil in the bottom of the 6th. Dodgers batting in the 7th, Tony. Will 11 runs be enough to hang on here?
They may not. I mean,
I know the way it's going.
Dodgers are scoring in bunches, and the Mets keep adding like a run here, a run there, but they keep giving up crooked numbers with 3 innings remaining. They might not make it.
We'll see. The Dodgers are trying to book their trip to the World Series here, but the Mets are trying to keep it alive. Don't let AI dictate your fantasy lineup. Instead, get bite-sized fantasy football analysis. God.
Man, Tony read this so much better than you last segment.
Oh, he read it last segment? Good, I'm not reading it again, man. I don't even know the word.
Analyst?
No, it's analysis.
Oh.
I don't think they spelled it correctly, but I still should have got it.
Should see some of these spellings of words.
All right, let's do traffic then, and then we'll let Scraby do a big 5.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Vicki Pepper.
This report brought to you by Ulta Beauty. 5 North at Carmel Valley. An earlier wreck cleared from lanes, but it is still a tough ride from the 805. The Emerald City came to Ulta Beauty with wicked collaborations from REM Beauty by Ariana Grande, It Brushes for Ulta, and OPI. Hurry in. These fantabulous products won't last long. See Wicked November 22nd, only in theaters. Ulta Beauty. The possibilities are beautiful. I'm Vicki Pepper with Gwen and Chris on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's that time of the show when we check on the latest in sports. Only the most important topics and questions are brought to light.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
These news stories will astound and amaze you. The one, the only.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
The Big 5 starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, the Big 5 is brought to you by Summit Subaru of El Cajon. See all the 2 ways to save right now at summitsubaru.com. And I, at least,
number 5,
am asking this question in the Big 5 and did not try to make a real segment out of it because I pretty much know the answer to this question. But MLB insider Robert Murray wrote nothing will surprise him with the Padres this offseason except one thing. And that's sign Juan Soto as a free agent. Spotrac projects Soto to sign a 14-year, $513 million deal in free agency. Some people out there still think it's a possibility. Chris, from 0 to 100%, what percentage will Juan Soto be a Padre next season?
0.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, Tony, what percentage will Juan Soto be a Padre next season?
-100.
You don't think there's any chance in the entire universe?
No, I don't. But maybe
if I
go ultimate negative, it could be a positive somehow.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I don't think there's a shot.
Okay, I should have just left this question out.
Number 4.
We all love watching the Guardians and the Yankees game last night, and even Yankees manager Aaron Boone was loving it. So give me a second as I put up Aaron Boone on the screen. And here's what he said in post-game. Oh my gosh. See, I'm trying something new, guys, and it's just hard to
do. Amazing game to witness. I mean, that was, playoff baseball. Both sides just kept coming with haymakers and big at bats, big moments off of 2 really good bullpens, and they outlasted us tonight. They had one more good swing than us, so it's part of it. Like I said, we'll be ready to roll tomorrow.
So that was Aaron Boone after the game. He enjoyed it just like we did. Now, guys, do you think, Tony, if Aaron Boone was losing the series, he would be so enamored by this game?
Aaron Boone's pretty solid on those things. He'll tell you if his team stunk it up and they need to get better. He'll tell you if, the umpires needs to pick it up. He'll definitely tell an umpire that.
Yes, he will.
There's no problem.
I'm sure you have. The Aaron Boone quick video of him pretending to be the umpire and standing behind home plate and then giving after the ball, he goes, it's out. He draws with his hand where the ball's way outside, and then he does the umpire thing trying to show him punching out the hitter. The umpire's got to be laughing at that before he kicks him out.
I'm sure there was a time during the season where they couldn't stand Aaron Boone because they knew every time they went there, cameras were on, and he might do something spectacular. No, I don't think. I think he would have been the same regardless of whether his team was up in the series or not.
I didn't know where this one was going to go with you, Tony. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Aaron Boone's a baseball fan.
Okay.
I mean, if he's down 3-0, he would have, because of that. I think he would have said it was a great baseball game, and then he would tell you, that his team's in deep trouble.
Okay.
But I think anybody had to recognize that was just a hell of a game. And,
it was.
You lose them sometimes, and it was a heartbreak game for the Yankees to be 1 out away from a 3-0 lead. So they have to not make too big a deal out of it.
Number 3.
Excuse me. WNBA star Angel Reese was doing an Instagram live recently and said this about the WNBA's pay structure. Come on.
Uh-huh.
Hope it doesn't work.
Oh, come on.
No good?
Apparently it's not working.
All right, so what do you got to tell us what she said?
You're going to have to paraphrase.
Download the video from, okay.
You're going to have to speak for Angel Reese, and that's not easy for anybody to do.
See, I'm on like 4 computers trying to make this work right now. It just didn't do it.
It won't work. Huh?
So we're going to actually go to the next question, and then we're going to come back so I could download. No, so I could download the video and get it ready to go. But the next question.
Maybe didn't know he needed to download the video.
I downloaded it
it
over here. When you click start, it doesn't. Now it starts because it's not sharing the screen anymore. The Pittsburgh Steelers may or may not.
You know what I learned last night?
What?
And this I'm telling for you.
Okay.
Because you're the guy that needs this information more than anybody.
Okay.
We had a guy speak at our referee meeting last night, and he was terrific. His name's Michael Rapp. He's a great referee, but he's a better communicator, and he's also a professor at San Diego State teaching master's classes in communication.
Oh, God.
So his whole point last night was
him.
You may. Michael Rapp, he's been around basketball for a long time, but he's really good. And he had everybody locked in for like 2 hours, and that's not easy to do at one of our referee meetings. But he was telling little tips about refereeing and relaxing. And he said, here's one that you probably have never heard of, but it works. If you're standing there on the court during a timeout and it's a big game and a big moment, wiggle your toes. Anybody ever heard that one?
I have not.
Never heard
Wiggle
that.
your toes. For some reason, it helps relax the whole body and just brings you down for a second. Scraby, something you might want to try.
Wiggle your toes right now, Scrape.
Wiggle your toes. From now on, I'm just going to tell you this endlessly.
I feel more anxious than ever.
You could be critical of me, but don't be critical of Mike Rapp.
Don't do it.
Don't be taking on Mike Rapp.
Can't do it. All right, we're back with Angel Reese. You gave me enough time to download it.
Right.
Here's what she said in an Instagram live.
I just hope y'all know the WNBA don't pay my bills at all. I don't even think that pays one of my bills. Literally. I'm trying to think of like my rent for where I stay at. I'm going to do the math real quick.
He might cover that. Yeah,
Is
it covers
it,
that. It
is
definitely
it,
covers that.
What is my, I don't even know my salary. 74? Okay. I don't even know my salary. Does it? What is it? You don't even. Yo! I'm living beyond my means. It's like, no, my rent is more than that. It's 8,000. I'm living beyond my means.
All right, there you go. I'm not doing this for people to bash her. I'm doing this because I do think there is a problem with her playing professional basketball and not being able to make more than $74,000. But that's not the question. The question is this, Chris, what do you think she accomplishes by saying this?
I don't know that she's trying to accomplish anything. I think Angel Reese, honestly, in her podcast, it's her podcast, right?
No, it's an Instagram Live.
Instagram Live is what's the
along the same lines.
It's along the same line.
Basically,
I
people
really
can ask
think
you questions.
Angel Reese is about trying to entertain people in her way, which does rub some people the wrong way. I will admit, but it doesn't bother me. I like Angel Reese. I think she's a breath of fresh air. She's brutally honest, maybe too much so, for her own good. And I would like to see her make a bigger salary. I'd like to see all these ladies make bigger salaries. I think that's what she's trying to, sneak in there.
Yeah.
More than anything else. And kudos to her for saying I'm living behind my means. Because if you're making what you're making, maybe you shouldn't be living in $8,000 a month rent.
Yeah.
But
she also lives
she
in an
admitted
expensive city too.
Now, mind you, first question is, what I assume that was a question asked. She didn't just hop on live and just decided
it wasn't like
to tell
she
people.
offered it up. No,
yeah, okay.
no.
So she was there answering questions. Somebody clearly asked her that. I think it's also important to remember that she has a bunch of sponsorships.
Yes. She does okay.
So her salary, which is low, I think for what we think it might be, she makes it up for it in her endorsements. So she's not living beyond her means with that specific point. But the point she was trying to make is that the salaries are low. And I'll say this, and this is for the folks in her position, right? The WNBA started in the late 90s?
It's about 25 to 30 years old.
Yeah, so late 90s, early 2000s. And it's had a slow growth period. And all of a sudden it's hit pay dirt. And I just, remind you, back in 1984, I think the league minimum was for Major League Baseball was like 60 grand, 70 grand, 80 grand, something around there, right?
Yeah.
Now minimum for league salary is $750,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, the growth, and that's over a 40-year span that it took for it to grow that much. I would bet it may not grow that much, but I would expect in another 20 years, they keep doing it the way they're doing it now, those salaries are going to grow. And she's going to be a part of the crew that help move the salary. She may not be the
she probably won't be the full beneficiary.
She won't get the beneficiary of it, but she's paving the way for the generations of girls who want to play hoop after her. And I know that's probably not what she probably wants to hear right now, but I think she'll look back on it if this league grows the way I think we all expect.
Kurt Flood was the baseball player
who
challenged the reserve system and kind of helped kick off free agency.
And paid a
Kurt
hard
Flood,
price for it.
Yeah, he got kicked out of baseball basically and blackballed, and his career pretty much ended. So he didn't get any of the money that all these guys are getting because
we
of him.
have free agency because of him.
He died many years ago, but he had a legacy at least.
Yeah, that's true.
Number 2.
The Pittsburgh Steelers may or may not make a quarterback change this week when they play host to the Jets on Sunday Night Football.
At this point?
The veteran Russell Wilson, who's yet to play this year due to calf injury.
I don't know why I was thinking Raiders when you said Steelers.
Oh, no, Steelers.
Okay,
he was given first-team reps, blah, 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 blah. We know that. Here is George Pickens, wide receiver for the Steelers, and he was asked about it, but listen carefully because Mike Tomlin has not announced a quarterback just yet.
It's always a little different.
Have you noticed him putting in extra time this week, maybe working with you one-on-one just to try to get on the same page?
Yeah, getting on the same page after practice throwing, more than usually because, this is first start.
How is he as a leader on the field?
Good
deep ball, sorry.
It's always a little
Did you,
different.
did you guys catch it? Chris, did you catch it?
time
Sorry, I'm trying to stop this.
Yes.
Okay. So he said this is going to be his first start. So George Pickens has let the cat out of the bag that Russell Wilson will be starting this weekend. Tony, can you expect players to keep things like this a secret?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, it just came out like, it seems like a slip.
If the head coach has not announced a quarterback yet, there's probably a reason for it, right? And George just seems like he doesn't really pay attention.
George
to much.
doesn't pay attention to anything.
He's also true.
He doesn't seem to pay
he goes
attention
on
to
my
much.
list of idiots in the league. There.
Whether he's catching a penalty at the end of a game or whether
putting swear words on his eye black.
Swear words on eye black. or announcing the starting quarterback before the head coach does. You know, he's not all the way locked in.
Yeah,
I'll just say
that's
that.
true. Okay, you're right.
Maybe
Chris?
maybe this is all Mike Tomlin's fault. Next time he's got to ask George if maybe he needs to use the restroom, and then when he goes out, tell everybody who the
Yeah,
quarterback
so
is,
no
so
one
that
will
George
know.
doesn't know.
Yes, all right.
Yeah.
Here's the last one.
Number 1.
An incredibly expensive new Skip the Line offering is coming for Disneyland's wealthiest guests. Starting October 23rd, 5 days from now, you can pay $400 on top of your ticket, and it's going to allow everybody to skip the lines at any time of day without having to return at a specific time like it currently happens. Chris, would you consider this?
Yes,
$400
sure. No, I
add-on?
don't. I mean, I obviously don't have the money, but you're asking if I had it. This might be something I would spend it on.
Really?
I mean, yeah, I hate those lines. I really.
This
I mean,
is-
it's one of my things
Oh
like
my
against amusement parks. I don't really go. But I have a better trick than that, if you don't mind.
What's that?
I went to Disneyland years and years and years
Wait, let
ago.
me get
with-
my answer off
Oh,
before
sorry.
you go into yours.
'Cause
All right,
we got
go ahead.
15
Sorry.
seconds.
I would absolutely do this.
You
you
would?
would? Okay,
oh my
yeah.
God, are you kidding me? Going to
is
Disneyland
shocking.
sucks because you're in line most of the day.
All day.
So at least I get to get the rides in.
All right, Chris is Disneyland hacked when we get back on 97.3 The Fan.
Hey guys, it's Annie.
Man is brought to you by B-Dubs, Buffalo Wild Wings. Buffalo Wild Wings is football. Does anybody else get freaked out by the talking buffalo with wings on the commercial? It seems like he's a little. That would be a good horror.
We're going to do our
character.
countdown here in 20 minutes.
That's
you might
yours?
get a mention.
Is that your number one, Tony?
When you hear the category, you'll laugh at that.
I think he fits with Jason Kelsey. Like Jason Kelsey's like, the bad.
He does kind of
the devil on his shoulder.
I
He's
can see
kind of
that.
like that. Yeah.
Is this a good time for Tony Bennett?
First, Chris's Disneyland hack.
Oh yes.
Oh well, the guy who wrote in, he's right. Go with somebody who broke their leg.
Straight to the front.
They'll put the person in a wheelchair, because they can't crutch their way around Disneyland.
Yep.
And wheelchairs are, at least from what I recall, are taken to the front of the line as they're not going to leave the rest of the group behind. So you all get to go to the front of the line endlessly.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if that's a loophole that has been closed or not. But in my experience, I was like, man, this is great.
It was because my dad has terrible back stuff going on, and so we had to get one of those little scooter, yeah. And so we did that one time, and I definitely felt bad because I was taking advantage of the system, and people were giving me the stink eye about skipping the line.
Do you feel bad when you're sitting in first class on an airplane?
No, because I paid for it.
Maybe you didn't.
See, if you pay that $400, you pay for it. You don't have to feel bad. You just walk right by.
I kind of enjoy standing in line.
No,
sometimes.
Nobody enjoys standing.
Nobody enjoys that hour and
stop it.
45 minutes.
I like the ambiance.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Maybe the first ride when you're still excited. By the time you've walked through the first line, the second line sucks, and it just gets worse from that point.
I'm a Disneyland scheduling machine. You got to look at the app. You got to see which rides are what wait times. Then you make your plan around the park, and then you keep some.
Most of the rides are long wait times.
Yes.
I mean, you're deciding between an hour and 10 minutes and an hour and 40 minutes. Neither is acceptable.
They did get rid of that now. They tell you to come back at a certain time. So it still kind of works, the whole wheelchair thing.
Oh, they'll tell the whole party come back at this time and then we'll let you in?
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh,
That's
that
what I'm
still
being
works.
told by Jaffe.
Thank you, Jaffe.
Is that my man, Jaffe?
Your guy.
Shout out to Aaron Jaffe.
Very good. 11-6 is still the score. I want to say Dave Roberts is punting this game, though. He's had Honeywell in since the third inning. And Honeywell's still in. He just doesn't want to use any of his other relievers. I think
that's exactly right. We saw him leave Flaherty in there way longer than he probably
right. Flaherty
would have
gave up
normally.
8 runs. Yeah. Honeywell's given up 3 more.
He's playing this probably the right way. It looks weird right now because his team is making it closer, so it looks like why aren't you trying to stop the bleeding? But
the bleeding is not stopping either. The Mets are about to score more runs, it looks like.
All right, let's talk Tony Bennett. We've been talking about this all day. In case you didn't know, Tony Bennett, former head basketball coach of Virginia, stepped down today. And I'll just read you a little bit of what he said because it came out of nowhere. No one was expecting this. He said, "The hardest thing to say is when I looked at myself and I realized I'm no longer the best coach to lead this program in the current environment. If you're going to do it, you got to be all in. If you do it half-hearted, it's not fair for the university or those young men. So in looking at that, that's what made me step down." Bennett has long bemoaned the direction of college athletics and increased emphasis on transfer portal and name and image and likeness. He goes on to say, I think it's right for student athletes to receive revenue. Please don't mistake me. The game and college athletics is not in a healthy spot. It's not. And there's needs to be change, and it's not going to go back. I think I was equipped to do the job here the old way. That's who I am. It's going to be closer to a professional model. That's got to be collective bargaining. There's got to be collective bargaining. There has to be a restriction on the salary pool. There has to be transfer regulation restrictions. There has to be some limits on the agent involved to these young guys. And I worry a lot about the mental health of the student athlete as all this stuff comes down. And we've been talking about this for quite some time. And Scraby kind of posed a question to Chris and I when we walked in. I mean, this has connecting tissue of the last few coaches that it seems like have stepped down. Nick Saban's the one that comes to mind immediately because he retired literally at the top of the mountain. Like he was in a cozy spot in Alabama. They were winning every year or coming close to winning every year. And he walked away. And he didn't use these exact words, but it was along these same lines, Chris.
Well, critics of Nick Saban say that he walked away because of these rules, he no longer got every single player he wanted,
or the control
that he had. But I don't think it's that sinister.
No,
I think he walked away because he really didn't like where the sport was headed, and I think Tony Bennett did the same thing. And honestly, I don't know, how many more coaches it's going to take before somebody sits down and says we got to figure out a way to put some regulations on this. But having said all of that, there's one criticism of Tony Bennett that I was talking to my buddy Ben Pearson about today.
Can I guess?
Sure.
He left the university high and dry?
He did. I mean, did he not know any of this at the end of last season?
I thought about the same
when
thing.
He could have gotten out of there and given somebody a chance to come in for the program. He leaves practically 2 weeks before the season is starting. And from what I understand, all of the players on that Virginia team, because he quit, basically, and he did, they all have 30 days to go find somewhere else to play if they'd like to. So he really shoved it to the school in making this announcement at this time.
I mean, I want to see.
It's just another angle of it, Tony.
I mean, it makes sense. I get it. I want to see. I feel like Virginia did not have a very good record last year.
I don't remember.
And you start to wonder how he felt like it was affecting him as a coach. Clearly, he felt ineffective in how this was going down. I believe it was a step back for Virginia last year. You pulling it up,
they the other
Taking
thing
me a little bit.
Yeah, I have it. You're a little slower than the.
I wrote Virginia basketball average bear
19-15. Tony.
Yeah,
finished right. Or no, that's Virginia Tech.
Oh no, he went 23-11 last year.
They finished third in the league. They finished third in the league, but Elijah Saunders, by the way, transferred from San Diego State. So apparently he's one of the guys that could leave here in the next 30 days. But Tony Bennett, with the timing of it, it's hard for me to comment totally on. I'm way out here, but I just hope the NCAA turns this around and gets it right. It's having a lot of far-reaching consequences.
It is.
And I think coaches are going to get to the point, if they're not there already, where if they get a recruit and that recruit is ready to play football, isn't ready to play, same with basketball, they may have to play these people just so they don't transfer and leave the program at the end of the year.
And that's not a great way to be coaching.
That's not the way you should be coaching.
No.
The playing time should go to the people who deserve it, not the people you don't want to lose. This is another aspect that I don't think anybody thought about when they started letting all of this stuff happen.
I think the other aspect that I don't think we think about often is in terms of the student athlete getting paid right now. How does that help them in terms of elevating their game even more? I mean, I would imagine if you handed me, let's say $1.6 million in NIL at the age of 18, my drive to get to the end goal becomes less, I would think.
A lot of people might just stop.
I mean,
right there. That's a lot of money. It's not as life-changing as it once was, but it's still a pretty good amount.
Yeah,
your drive has got to be lessened somewhat. I think there's so many negative consequences to all of this, but I totally want players to get paid for their name, image, and likeness. That was the idea in the first place, but they're not getting paid for that, really, Tony. They're just getting paid to show up.
Yeah, no, there is going to have to be a collective bargaining process at some point. I think all of the things he talked about, the restriction on the salary pool, in terms of, because that's really the only way you're going to somewhat even the playing field is by limiting the amount you can spend, right? Because the Power Fours are going to be able to do a whole lot more than everybody else is going to be doing.
Yeah.
And then what was the other one? He said the transfer regulation. I know they're working on that part right now, but seems like there's a long way to go and like no ground game.
Well, I'll tell you one thing I would collectively bargain if I was on the players' side of that. I would require that all coaches have to sit out a year if they quit their job, and then we'll go ahead and sit out a year when we transfer.
I'm all for
that
it.
Seems something like you could collectively get on your side.
You could probably push to at least have to sit out until your contract ends on the other end. You're still getting paid.
Tony
at that
Bennett
point.
could honestly go tomorrow and become the coach of Cal State Northridge, for all I know.
Yep. He sure
and
could.
leave everybody completely in a lurch. So.
Nate on the chat said maybe he was trying to stick it or an axe to grind with the AD or a fundraiser person.
Potentially, but I don't think he'd want to give up his job for that.
Yeah,
I think he's.
It's not like his job ain't paying him a nice little chunk of change too. That's not an easy thing to walk away from.
It probably became just untenable for him any longer. So, but it is interesting. I mean, teams are getting players. We talked to Zeigler earlier about the Aztec men's team. Not only does nobody know how good they're going to be this year, but there's no way of knowing how any of the teams are going to be in the league because practically every team is brand new from a year ago.
Yeah.
One of the great beauties to me of college sports, back on my soapbox and the lawn.
I could turn back time.
I was thinking it, but he didn't mention history.
But it's not quite there. But to me, one of the beauties is,
Don't ask me why my mind works the way it does. I have no idea.
I don't. But I think it was fun meeting a player as a freshman, watching him maybe get off the bench as a sophomore, watching them really start to star as a junior, and then really getting the glory when they're a senior.
Yeah.
And then they leave, and then you wait for the next couple of guys to come along. That's part of the beauty of following college sports. And nobody can do that anymore.
No.
So that's too bad.
High school football popping here in San Diego tonight.
Glad you brought it up.
Big time matchup. Lincoln Cathedral. I believe it's at Cathedral tonight.
It is.
Number
That's
one
a great game,
versus
obviously.
number two. I think
Go
Scraby's
Lincoln.
Huh?
Go Lincoln.
Why?
You want
Just
Lincoln?
because Braden.
Nah,
is
you're
the
rooting
coach.
against Braden. You're a guy.
No, of course
Come on,
not.
man. No,
Of course
what do you
not.
mean? Of course not. Of course you are.
Either way, it should be a good matchup. I think La Costa Canyon's playing Mission Hills, another North County top dog matchup. There was another one Braden told me before he left, but I can't. I think it's Granite and
Mount McGill.
Mount McGill
In the East County.
East County.
Big powers in the East.
And then you got a Scripps matchup. I can't remember.
Didn't
who they're
remember
playing.
that opponent,
Yeah.
but
I
there's
know
really
that's
good
1 and
games
2.
tonight.
Yeah.
So go see a high school football game.
How
Good
many
idea.
games do they play in high school now? High school
I don't know. For
maybe
those of you
10,
guys
11?
wondering, we typically we do a few shows at the high school. It just hasn't worked out this year because the Padres play kind of deep this year, and so there's only 2 weeks left, and I don't know if we can put anything together that fast. So
Because I remember the football season when I was playing in high school being so long, but it's actually not that long in
that's
high
because
school.
you're getting your head cracked in practice
Well, that's
every day
true.
too.
Scout
so it
team
made
hero
it,
over
made
here.
It made it even longer, I'm sure.
Just like, oh my gosh, my head hurts.
Let's get
And the game, it was like, I'm not going to get hit today.
He's like, I'm sitting here with this helmet in my hand. All right, let's get to break. On the other side, the countdown is finally here. More Gwynn and Chris on the other side.
From the
On the chat, and we'll answer it in the next segment.
Stay there, Maddie.
Maddie asked it, and we invite everybody, by the way, if you haven't gone to the chat, YouTube, and looked it up, or the YouTube,
go to YouTube,
coverage,
search
right,
97.3 The Fan.
And then make sure you like it.
Yes,
that
like
helps us immensely.
the page, the
like
actual
the page.
Yes.
And then get into the show that way, because
Yes.
a lot of people do that, and we appreciate all of them being with us. Now let's do our Friday countdown.
It's now time for Gwynn and Chris to rank their top 5 of the day.
Gonna grip and rip as usual.
But this isn't just a regular top 5 list.
I love it. It sounds sadistic, but I love it.
This is the countdown. And it starts right now on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, we've got to give you a category. It is October. We're getting late. We got 2 weeks till Halloween, so today's category. Who are the scariest movie characters that have frightened you as not only a youth, but at any time? Your 5 most scary movie characters.
This was really hard for me.
Why?
I mean, you've
Because you
seen
have way more than
18
5?
billion scary movies.
Yeah, I mean,
How many do
yes.
you have? Like 50 that you had to narrow it down
Look,
from?
I've crossed out like several times, and I've done some arrows. This one's actually 4 and not 2.
Right.
So.
Number 5.
Tony, picking you today.
You want me to go first here,
Yeah,
huh?
why not?
All right, we'll start with the doll, Chucky.
Chucky.
I love the
is-
Chuckster.
Chuckster.
You
is-
close your eyes and you can picture him right now.
Yeah,
and
for
it's
sure.
a little bit of a freaky
This
thing.
guy, this thing is
He was bad
is
news,
diabolical.
man. Bad news.
Diabolical. He goes places where I think dolls shouldn't go.
Well, I mean, he also does
he was
things that
possessed.
dolls shouldn't do.
Right, he's possessed. He certainly is running up and down with his little steps in your hallway as he's coming to stab you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chucky Child's Play was one of the ones that got me early.
That was epic.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go second. We'll
All
save
right.
you for last, Scraby. My number 5 is not in the running in anyone's list except for mine. The character's name was Whitey Jackson, and the movie was Foul Play, a romantic comedy with Chevy Chase and Goldie Hawn.
We did the scariest movies, right?
It's a romantic
No, I
comedy?
said scary character. Whitey Jackson
See, he
was.
took this in his own direction.
No, you
That's how
said
Chris does it,
characters.
baby.
You said characters. Whitey Jackson was just such a frightening-looking hitman in that particular movie. And if you call up a picture of, go to Foul Play and call up Whitey Jackson, you'll see what I mean. And he appeared suddenly in a scene one time, like jumped out of a closet or out of a corner, startling everybody and startling my 11-year-old stepsister so much that she dumped an entire tub of Coca-Cola on me. She was so frightened by his appearance.
All
I'll
right,
never
I can
forget
see
that.
it. He's kind of creepy looking.
He's very creepy looking. Whitey Jackson from Foul Play.
He's got like white eyeballs.
Yeah, it's a scary look. I'm telling you, and I will always remember that.
Oh, okay. All
Never
right.
seen anybody
That
dump
works.
a Coke on me before until then. All right, you're
My
number
number
5.
5 is I kind of did my list as things that scared me as a kid because not really many movies scare me now. But my number 5, one of my first rated R movies I ever saw was Terminator 2. And the cop.
Oh, yeah.
The cop who was able to morph into everything, and like that scared me so much because I was like 9 years old when that movie came out. I snuck it behind my parents' back, and I was terrified of the cop from Terminator 2, like turning into liquid and coming into my room under the door or something like that. Oof, ugh.
Number 4.
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Okay, number 4, Tony.
Pinhead. For those who don't know who Pinhead is, if you go watch the
His
movie,
name is pretty funny.
Hellraiser.
I just watched
Hellraiser.
I just watched it 2 days ago,
Yeah.
3 days ago.
It's not so scary as an adult, but as a kid, definitely watching Hellraiser when this dude with needles all in his face,
Yeah,
aka Pinhead,
yeah,
it'll throw you for a loop.
yeah.
For
It
sure.
will. It will. It's kind of weird because his like goon squad that he has with him, they're all creepy looking.
Super creepy looking.
But Pinhead is the only one that really talks, and he's the leader of
He's the
everybody.
most intelligent of the
Yes.
of the crew,
But
but he has pins in his face.
Yeah, and he just wants to kill you. That's all. Chris?
Number 4 for me, Reagan McNeil.
Ah.
You know who Reagan McNeil is?
Yeah,
right?
give it to me. I
The
don't know.
Exorcist.
Reagan is.
The
Oh,
Exorcist.
yeah.
Linda Blair played the character. She was a 12-year-old kid. The original came out. I was not prepared to see a movie that scary at that age. So she freaked me out. Her head turned all the way around one time.
I think
she was constantly vomiting all over herself.
the demon in her, I believe,
Yes.
was Pazuzu.
Pazuzu
I
is
think
correct,
you're right.
Tony.
Yes.
I didn't even
Yes.
say that because I didn't think anybody would know that.
Pazuzu. Yeah, one thing I don't do is head spinning. So I got to know all the information about that.
Yeah,
And
Reagan
Pazuzu.
was the Antichrist invaded her body and
Yes.
turned her into this awful, and then
King of Demons.
right, and somebody had to come and perform the exorcism to get the demon out. The very, very scary movie for its time, and probably still scary now.
I'm just going to tell you that's my number 4 too.
Really?
Because-
Reagan?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
super scary. And if you've ever watched anything about the making of that movie, like the director was hardcore. Like
Yeah,
at the
he was.
end when there's a part where the priest is like doing the cross over someone and his hand shaking. It's because the director didn't like any of the takes, walked right up to him, slapped him across the face, and said, "Do it." And the guy
William
was like shaking
Friedkin.
because he was so
pissed,
yeah,
probably.
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
wanted to strangle
William
his ass.
Friedkin was the name of that director.
Yeah. Gwynn and
I don't know what it is about slapping actors to get them in. And Vince Vaughn did the same thing to Snoop Dogg in what was it, Huggy, when he played Huggy Bear. And
did Snoop Dogg freak out?
He said he had to catch himself.
Yeah,
he had to catch himself.
Getting
He had to stay in
slapped is
character.
Vince
embarrassing.
Vaughn died on the set today in a movie when Snoop Dogg
He slapped him.
punched him out.
Real quick, Gwynn and Chris is brought to you by the roofing professionals at Extreme Roofing of San Diego. Mother Nature is unpredictable, and so is the San Diego rain. Don't wait till your roof suffers damage. Call Extreme Roofing of San Diego to prepare your investment from catastrophe. Schedule your roof inspection now, 619-334-ROOF, or online at extremeroofs.com.
Number 3.
By the way, Exorcist, look at pictures of Linda Blair, even today, from that movie. This is the early 70s. The makeup was incredible.
Yeah, it was.
To make her look as awful
I mean,
as
when
she
she
looked.
had her head spun the wrong way and was crawling on the ceiling, that is just
Yeah.
not it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Number 3, Tony.
Candyman.
Ooh, this was on the list.
You know, Candyman was, you couldn't say his name 3 times. I've already said it twice, so I won't say it again.
Oh,
Good
wow.
job. Thank you.
It is, I remember going, first time I went to New Orleans as a ball player. A lot of the, and I think that's where the setting is in like Louisiana, somewhere down south. But a lot of the houses that, we would drive by reminded me so much of Candyman. Good flick, too, by the way. Scary character. Had a bunch of bees on his face.
Yeah.
He was a bad man.
Ugh. The bees in the mouth.
Yeah.
Gross.
He was
Disgusting.
swallowing them, like eating them.
I like Candyman, but I don't think he'd stand a chance against my number 3.
Oh, who's that?
Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, he might eat them.
Hannibal, I mean,
But Candyman is like a
I know, he's
a
got
mythical
mythical powers.
Yeah.
Hannibal Lecter, for just a straight up human being.
He's pretty evil.
The most evil person of all time. Anthony Hopkins' portrayal of him was incredible. And this picture with the brown half face mask with the bars in front of his lips.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that freaks me out every single time.
His mouth is a weapon.
When spoiler alert, everybody. When he's in the ambulance at the end and they're figuring out what happened, and he peels the guy's face off. Oh!
Yes, and plus his delivery of the fava bean line is,
all time.
an all time.
All time.
Chianti and
All-timer.
fava bean.
That is brilliant.
Mine-
Brilliant acting.
That wasn't written in the script. That was
No, it
probably
wasn't.
on his own.
He did it. Yeah.
It's
Good
really
job.
creepy.
A deranged
job,
actor
Anthony.
to come up with that.
You do. My number 3 is actually from Silence of the Lambs, but it's Buffalo Bill, another movie that I watched way too young.
That's the character they're actually
Trying
he's
to
trying to
capture.
help the police
FBI.
girl
Yeah.
catch that character.
Clarice
yeah.
Starling. Hello, Clarice.
Yes.
But Buffalo Bill in front of the mirror dancing while something is tucked is one of the creepiest things I
He's
think
a
I've
creepy
ever
character.
seen in my entire life. And then the whole well thing, put the lotion on his skin or else it gets the hose again. Oh, God, I saw that way too young.
All right. Silence of the
Number 2.
Lambs also won the Academy Award that year for Best Picture.
Should have.
It was. All right, number 2, Tony.
Samara Morgan. Yeah, you guys may not
You
know.
don't
it.
have me on that
Yeah.
one.
The Ring.
Oh, yeah. The girl who comes out of the well?
with the black hair over her
Oh,
face.
no.
I'm cool. She was like getting closer without actually taking steps. That was just I can't. The Ring messed me up for a little bit.
Have you seen the original Japanese version, Ringu?
I have not.
Okay, it's even scarier.
Think it's scarier?
It is.
Who was the Ring lady? Naomi Watts?
Yeah, she was in there.
She was trying to protect her family.
Yeah, but that is scary. That is really scary, actually.
I think it's Sadako Yamamura is the character in the original one.
In Ringu?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should watch Ringu. It's good.
I'm good.
Number 2 for me, even a little more frightening than Hannibal Lecter because he was born before Hannibal. and is Norman Bates.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Psycho.
Yeah.
I thought about Norman.
Norman's Anthony Perkins played the character in the the Alfred Hitchcock movie, but Psycho. I mean, that's a word that stands the test of time.
Yep.
This is 60 years after that movie came out. You want to call somebody weird and crazy, you call him a psycho because of that character.
And when you find out what you find out,
yeah,
the twist is terrifying.
It is pretty terrifying.
And I can only imagine. I would love to go back and see some of these movies in the time that they came out because they were probably so scary when they came out.
I think, and Alfred Hitchcock was pretty good at being suspenseful.
Rod said on the chat, Buffalo Bill is not an animal, Scraby. Still mad about that.
Thank you,
one.
Rob.
Still mad about that one. All right, my number 2 is the Blair Witch Witch. The Blair Witch movie, when it came out, people thought it was real. People thought this was actually found footage because this was pre-internet for the most part. They could say whatever they wanted.
The way
no one
they
could really
filmed
prove
it had us convinced that it was real.
Yes, it was a low budget movie, but that movie freaked me out. I had trouble sleeping for, I'm not kidding, months after that movie. Yes, it was so scary.
Interesting.
But Blair Witch Witch is my number 2.
Number 1.
Tony, for the title.
This can't be a number 1 list without Pennywise at the top of it.
Yes,
my
Pennywise.
guy has the George Jefferson haircut, only in clown version. Sharp teeth.
The George Jefferson haircut.
Lives in the freaking gutter.
This is the movie It. Am I correct?
Yes.
The original
It. I mean, the original, the new ones, they all messed up. I don't do clowns at all.
You're not going to want to come to our neighborhood for Halloween because one of my neighbors, Ryan, who I've mentioned on this show before, dresses up as Pennywise.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
And scares all the kids in the neighborhood
I'm sure.
who come around.
Yeah.
There's nothing
Like, I can't
exciting
believe you
about
do
a
that.
clown with a George Jefferson haircut.
Yeah.
He is scary looking. All right, I'm going to come under some heat for this, but
Uh-oh.
there's only one character in a movie that has scared me when it happened, scared me the next day, the next month, and still to this day causes me to be uncomfortable when I go in the ocean.
Jaws.
And that's Jaws.
Yeah.
I knew this
And
was
I
gonna
don't
be
know
on
that.
this.
I
that should've
think
been my
there's going to
number
be an
one.
argument, but
No, ain't no argument.
Jaws has lasted the longest for me. I still hum the theme when I go into the water in the ocean.
I don't
From
get in the
all of
water
those years
because of
ago.
Jaws. So this
Why
should have
do
been
you-
my number 1.
Why do you hum the Jaws theme as you're in the ocean?
Because
To
I'm
freak
thinking
everybody
about the
out?
shark, man. It still gets me today.
Yeah.
That's why I know, but it's not an actual person, but I went with Jaws. Who'd you go with, Scrape?
You have to give a number 1, buddy.
What about yours?
I already gave.
He
I was
said
the first
Pennywise.
one.
Oh,
Pennywise,
What am
bro.
I doing?
Yeah.
Number 1, Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger.
Freddie takes the title. for you.
The knife hands and getting in your dreams and not
See,
being
that's
able
the
to sleep.
thing. If you had a good imagination, you didn't have to be scared of Freddy.
That
Because if you could control your dreams, he didn't stand a chance. He was all in your head, so you had to have a good imagination.
yeah.
Put him up against some tough foes in your head.
I mean, I get it, but it didn't work.
Who won the showdown between Freddie and Jason? Or did they end up
Gosh, it's
working
been forever.
together?
I mean, they're probably just. I don't remember actually. It's been a long time.
I feel
since
like
I've
it
seen
was
Freddy
Jason
versus
was the
Jason.
winner.
Somebody's
Chat, help
gotta
us
know
out.
that.
I know y'all
Freddy
see it,
is
chat.
like. I mean, they're both made up people. Media Melanie, who's on with Annie and Elston.
I know Mel.
Oh, TV show wise, Evil on Paramount Plus. Tony and I love
Hey,
that show.
she's bringing that up because we talked about it before.
Oh, okay. That show is great. Evil.
Awesome.
Evil.
I'm actually watching the last season right now. I've been
I need
told.
to start.
I've been told that it might get picked up on Netflix to continue.
Let's hope because it's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
How many seasons is it?
I think it's only like 3 or 4.
It was 4.
All right,
This
I'll
was the
wait
4th.
for Netflix. All right, that's going to do that.
Jeez.
I hope everybody
Pouring cold
enjoyed.
water on Evil.
I don't mean to.
It's good. It's a good
I'll
show.
watch it. But we got to take a break. Yankees added a home run by Austin Wells.
Oh,
The
your starter
Cleveland
from yesterday, you won it.
3-1 in the second inning. More Gwynn and Chris coming up.
Ben and Wood.
segment in the happy hour before we get to our interview of the day. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. B-dubs, Buffalo Wild Wings is football. All right, we got a YouTube question before we get into Mark Zeigler. Scraby.
Yes, the YouTube question came from Maddie, and Maddie said they signed up just to ask this question, so we thought we should answer it. But they
Fair
were
enough.
talking about the college sports and how it's hard to recruit a player that's really good because they might leave school for a better deal after the first year they're there or something. But Maddie says, what if these changes in college sports leads to coaches not chasing the next big thing anymore, which means departments and coaches are going to end up investing in their players for more than just 1 or 2 years? Basically saying, is it more beneficial to go after guys that are not as highly rated coming out of high school so that they do stay with the school?
I guess in a perfect world, yeah. But those 5-star guys and those high 4s are still going to be recruited somewhere else. And yeah, you might be able to recruit a bunch of, 3 stars and develop, but even those kids in today's day and age, they got some value too. And if you can't meet that, and let's say, here's the other thing that happens, right? You go out, you get a 3-star kid, you develop him, and in his junior year, after you've developed him to a point where he is, really good, they can bounce and leave. And so, I think all of it needs to be fixed, including coaches just dipping out when they want to. But I just think we're a long ways away from it. I think it's really hard because my guess is that when NCAA comes up with a rule, they're probably going to get sued, and they're going to have to go through litigation, and then they're going to have to figure out if it's a mess. I think Tony Bennett basically said it best.
To answer the question, I would say that I've dreamed of this my entire life because I was nowhere near a 5-star or even a 4-star player if they had such a thing. I was that 3-star who worked really hard, and I wish that all of us were given the great opportunity ahead of those who just had the God-given talent and didn't have to work as hard. But guess what? It never once worked that way. And the guys in the 5-star and the 4-star got better opportunities and more opportunities, and as I've grown older and understanding, I see why. These guys help you win games. There's very few coaches that are going to take that strategy and avoid getting the best possible players they can.
Because, by the way, the coaches are on time clocks too. If you don't get winning
if you don't
teams,
win now,
you get fired.
Yeah, they're not waiting around too long anymore. There's a few coaches out there, that are comfortable. Not a lot.
Yeah. Yes, they are.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, what are you going to do if the 5-star recruit is all of the SEC schools, Big 12, Big 10, they all say no. Somebody in the AAC is going to say, hey, we can't ever get a guy like that. Come on down. Absolutely.
All right, let's get to our interview of the day. First, here's some traffic.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Vicky Pepper.
This report brought to you by Ulta Beauty, 5 North at Via Day, a disabled vehicle in the center divider. The Emerald City came to Ulta Beauty with wicked collaborations from REM Beauty by Ariana Grande, It Brushes for Ulta, and OPI. Hurry in, these fantabulous products won't last long. See Wicked November 22nd, only in theaters. Ulta Beauty, the possibilities are beautiful. I'm Vicky Pepper with Gwynn and Chris on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Mark Zeigler's with us. All that said, Mark, I think that Brian Dutcher, with what he's accomplished, gives all of us, a very confident feeling coming into any season that he is going to figure it out. He's going to get the best out of this group, and they're going to, improve like, Brian Dutcher and Steve Fisher teams before that always improve throughout the season. What do you think his secret sauce is to being able to do that consistently?
That's pretty simple, and it's that they don't panic. Steve Fisher, they used to talk about, he was at his best, and Dutch used to talk to me about that when he was an assistant. He would, they'd lose a game or two, and he'd say, watch how he acts. He's so good in these situations. He doesn't panic. He doesn't let one loss become two losses become three, because you don't dwell on it. You move on. It's always next play. And there's just sort of a patience and an even keel. And that allows teams to to progress on the floor and get better. They're never looking in the rearview mirror. They're not afraid to make mistakes. And, they just sort of quietly learn from them. In the game, they don't harp on mistakes. They might look at them in film the next day, but they move on. And I think players appreciate that. Players don't want to be on a knife edge, wondering if their coach is going to scream at them all the time. And so I think that kind of allows them to just get better day by day, minute by minute, practice by practice. And so that's good to have, and he'll have that patience with this group. But it's going to be interesting to see what the fans do. And they just raised ticket prices 20%, and they've been to a Sweet 16 and a national championship game the last 2 years. What happens if they open the season and they're 2-4, which they very well could be. If they don't beat a ranked team, they're probably going to be 2-4. And in February, they probably could handle those games. I'm not sure they can handle them now. And so how will the rest of us deal with that? That will be the interesting thing for me to see. I know how Dutch will deal with it.
That is certainly something to be thinking about. The folks are a little less patient than they used to be, especially with all the success we've seen. Mark Zeigler joins us here, San Diego Union Tribune. All right, Mark, I have a bunch of questions. I hope you can kind of iron this out for us in terms of the lawsuit with the NCAA, how it affects San Diego State and these scholarships, and how if it even affects San Diego State and all. And then the NIL, or not the NIL, the National Letter of Intent rule that just changed. Could you kind of explain that in layman's terms for us?
Well, the National Letter of Intent is, I think they're just transitioning to the day, which is coming, whether it's next year or the year after. It should be one of those two, when they're actually the power conferences, not the Mountain West of the world, but the power conferences, which are only 4 of them now, are paying athletes. And when they're actually from the university cutting a check to an athlete, they have to have a different kind of letter of intent. The letter of intent now just says scholarship, has nothing about payment. So I think they got rid of it now because they're kind of in that transition period, and they'll replace it with something else, some more legalese. They basically send it back to the lawyers and say, write something else up that will be more binding and more of a contract. So that's what that's about. The House settlement, it doesn't directly affect a school like San Diego State, because they're not going to have these roster limits. They're not going to have these unlimited scholarships, at least to start with. But it does affect them indirectly, because these power conference schools are going to be able to, A, pay athletes in addition probably to what they're getting in NIL, and B, they'll be able to have in many sports more scholarships if they want. And we'll see how they decide to approach that. I think in some sports, a big school may say, we're not really a national contender in softball, for example, so we're not going to have very many scholarships in that opportunities, and we'll just field the team and we'll be competitive, and that'll be the end of it. But let's say you're really good at men's soccer. Well, all of a sudden you can go from 9.9 scholarships up to 24 or 20 or whatever the limit's going to be. You could get really good, and those 4 schools that are mid-majors are just going to get run over. And so there's going to be a little bit of that going on. So indirectly, I think it does affect a school like San Diego State, because it'll be harder to compete with those top power conference schools, because they're going to have so many advantages financially or with the number of scholarships.
Mark Zeigler joins us here, San Diego Union Tribune. And Mark, we had assistant coach Ryan Babratelli on a couple of days ago, and he mentioned some of the new roles that guys are being asked. And one of the names he kept brought up was Reese Waters, who he said was going to be asked to do a little bit something different than he was last year. Do you have any idea what is going to be asked of him? Because looking at the roster, he seems to be the one that could be the go-to guy for the Aztecs offensively this year.
Yeah, I got that sense too. In fact, he was at Media Day yesterday in Las Vegas, and I asked a question. I said, last year you were obviously a very much of a Jaden Ledee-centric team. And even before that, they were kind of a Matt Bradley team, where they got the ball to him, late shot clock, got out of the way, guy could create his own shot. And that's kind of how Jaden was. And this year it's much more democratic. It's much more equal opportunity. They're playing multiple sides of the floor. I said, okay, I get that. But what happens late shot clock, late in the game, someone's got to take a shot. And Reese just stepped up and said, I'd like to have the ball in my hands. And so I think that's the big difference is you all run your plays. Everyone runs their plays. but everyone scouts them and knows that they're coming. If you defend them right, they don't work.
Right.
And then it's what do you do on the back half of the play, and what do you do when the shot clock's under 8 seconds? Who gets the ball and who can create a shot? And Reese can do that. He has such a quick release. He's a big body, long arms, athletic, high release on his jumper, great mid-range player. And I think he'll be getting the ball in those situations a lot of times. And I think that's going to be something that's, last year he never had it in those situations because it was going to Jaden. So I think that's something they're looking to from him, and we'll see how that goes. He's a little banged up right now, so he's got to get healthy first. But he certainly has the skill. We saw that in the Gonzaga game last year when they won at Gonzaga. He was the best player on the floor.
We got 2 minutes left, Mark, and I have to ask about Magoon Gwath because I think he seems to be the most intriguing player on the roster. There are those out there that I've seen tweet that are big basketball, people, and they say this guy's going to be a household name in the Mountain West. He already seems like a fan favorite just because he's 7 feet and shoots threes. Coach didn't want to say too much about him the other day because he wants to make sure we talk about all the players. But is this guy, anything close to what we hope maybe he could be?
He's certainly shown flashes of it. But, people need to remember this is a redshirt freshman who didn't play last year and didn't even practice half the year because he was coming off ankle surgery, pretty major ankle surgery. And the year before that, he was a little bit banged up in high school. And before that, he played at a smaller school in the Dallas area. And so he really hasn't played a lot of high-level basketball before. And what that means is, as talented as he is, as much upside as he is, he's going to be up and down this season. And he has been in practices and in the scrimmages. He's had these flashes where he just took over games. He got a rebound and he led the break, and somebody, he passed ahead to somebody who missed a shot, and he flew in and got the tip dunk. And then he got a steal at midcourt and came back and hit a three. And, but then he disappeared for 5 or 10 minutes. And so I think people have to understand that he's going to be really good, but he's not going to be consistent. That's what young players usually are. And so they're going to have some patience with him. I think this is going to be an up and down year. If they're lucky enough to keep him next year, I think he'll be a monster in college basketball next year. But this year we'll see some flashes. And again, it goes back to the expectation question we were talking about earlier. If people have too high expectations for him, they're going to be disappointed. If they just come into it and say, look, this guy hasn't played very much, he's very raw, but everything he does is a positive, they'll be much more satisfied, I think, in the end.
Mark,
that's the that lucky word, that word at the end he used there. If they're able to keep
I
it.
know. That's why we got to change some stuff.
Yeah,
if we can.
That's gonna do it for Gwynn and Chris this week. Good first week back, gentlemen.
Right.
Off season is in full swing.
That Tuesday was rough, but after that we rebounded pretty nicely.
I don't know. Tuesday was the dude wipe day. I don't think I can ever forget it.
Listen, we'll check you guys next week. Back at it Monday. Enjoy your weekend.
Scraby Chronicles coming up.